affiliate items and make money. You should make as many TikToks as you can. I love you, Brooke. TikTok Shop changed my life. Look at all these people. Look, TikTok Shop is doing Nigeria, and you can't do it. Not yet. You don't need any followers for that. The sports card market is booming, right? I'm an affiliate, and it ain't that easy. No, it's not that easy, Shay, but nothing's easy. I don't think people get this. Yes! Nothing's easy. The fuck is supposed to be easy? The fuck are we looking for easy? Easy? Looking for easy is death. That's why you're all losing. Easy. Everything easy is cheap. Everything easy is garbage. What does it matter with people? I heart you back. Thank you, Finch. Thank you. I love you guys. I am preaching. I just want you to win. Easy is bad. If you look for easy, nothing is easy. Do you know how I became a content creator? I did a wine show for 30 minutes on YouTube in 2006 when no one was watching for 18 months before anything got going a little bit every day. Easy. Nothing's easy. That's the point. If you want something great, easy is getting a job that you hate. We're posting at 6 this morning. We're posting at 6 this morning. You know what's easy? Getting a job you hate. It's really easy. Let's keep it going. Ask your questions, I'll answer. You changed my life 10 years ago. I'm doing $500,000 a year now because of it. Thank you. And I want that for all of you. Let's keep asking questions in the chat. Fabian. Don't worry, just go with audio. Go ahead, Fabian. Where are you from?
I'm from Germany, and I actually from here 9 years now. So
thank you. Thank you, brother. I'm so happy you're here. Fire away. What's your question?
So you talk a lot about the individual empire and also like social shopping and AI influencer agency. I love all three ideas, and I would like to know how would you decide which of those three to focus on if you start now?
Fabian, thank you for the question. When you like 3 ideas, here's what you do. You write all 3 ideas on a piece of paper, you fold it, you put it in a hat, you pick one, and you do that. When you like 2 ideas, here's what you do, everyone. If you like 2 ideas, here's what you do. You take a coin, you flip it. That's it. This whole idea is like, I got 4 ideas, Gary, and I can't get 6 ones. Or I have 3 ideas. Friends, when you write a lot of ideas, a lot of times, it's 1 or 2 things happen. 1, you're not decisive because you're actually insecure and you don't actually want to do the thing. You'd rather tell people that you have so many ideas so that you don't have to try, so you don't have to lose in front of them. Friends, everything is about losing in front of others. The whole world. I think I'm just going there. I'm going there.
没有，还没包。
Friends, I'm getting in nice and close. Okay, here we go. Friends, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna answer life's actual question. Here it is. We're just doing it once and for all. This is it. This is life. Literally all of life. This is it. This is the moment. Like, this is the stuff you'll get in heaven when you walk in. So I'm just gonna do it while you're alive. This is a wiffle ball. I'm gonna hold the good luck wiffle ball while I say this. This is the important part of it. Holding the good luck wiffle ball is always a good idea. All right, here we go. Here's fully life. I'm giving it to you once and for all. Life is fully predicated on your ability to lose in front of other people. Every one of you is unhappy, not as successful as you want. Things are confusing, anxious in the tummy, because you have way too much energy put in thinking about what other people think about your losses. This is it. The second you realize the reason things are not going well for you is because you actually care what strangers, or even worse, what people that you don't even like or want to be like, think about your failures. You did not learn how to get comfortable with losing as a child. You did not understand that losing was the great thing. In fact, if you're under 40, unfortunately, most parents raising during your era thought that losing was bad, so we made 8th place trophies, so we fought our fights for our kids, we overcoddled, and we taught all of you to be scared of losing and to think that losing is bad. My tips, Luke Hillman says, any tips? Absolutely. Start losing. Start playing more sports and losing, start trying things and having it fail, and instead of being embarrassed of your failures, your failed business, your failed relationships, start getting comfortable with it. Start realizing that everybody else loses too. Start becoming a strong human being. You have to understand that losing is the gift. Losing is the good. Life is about losing constantly with the occasional win. And that's a beautiful thing. But all of you were taught the other way. Most of you were. Big shout out to all of you that fell in love with losing as a kid or got lucky enough that you grew up in a losing environment. Shout out to all of you. Losing. My friends, this is the whole punchline. Losing is the game. Losing is the good stuff. Losing is the delicious. That's it. Did everybody understand? Did everybody understand? Like, did you get it? Like, do you understand? Why do you think I'm such a big Jets fan, Court? I grew up as big of a Yankees fan as a Jets fan, but the Yankees won, and that made it less interesting for me. I like the losing. Yeah, friends, everyone's laughing right now. When all of you are like, oh, when Bills fans and Patriot fans make fun of me, like, I had Jets, I'm like, no, I had you. Seth, do you know how many Patriot fans are in this chat right now that get all their self-esteem from a team that they cheer for? Patriot fans, Bills fans, you didn't win. The Bills players won. You're a fan. Don't say we won. They won. You didn't win shit. I love it. All these Patriot fans, like, I'm a winner. You're not a winner. You're not a winner. It's one of my favorite moments of my life. I went to a Patriots-Jets game, and this Patriot fan was drunk and just all over me, just shitting on me. And I had to be quiet because I didn't want to get kicked out of the stadium because I wanted to watch the game. And at the end, the Patriots won. He's like, like drilling me. And then I looked at him and said, bro, you're confused. You didn't win. They won. I'm like, what do you work. And then everybody was paying attention around me, and I just destroyed his life. I think the girl broke up with him on the spot. It was really amazing. What a great moment. All right, let's keep it going. By the way, all fans of bad teams, they won. Is the move for all those fans that piss you off when you're at these games? They won. They won. That is the greatest life. Oh, these Steelers fans, these Bill fans that come and razz me, like, man, you suck. No, I don't suck. My team sucks, but you're not good. Your team's good. Yeah. I'm telling y'all, this fan stuff, it's the most fun. When you tell them no, they won. Oh, man. That was fun. That felt good. You can see, like, I actually understand envy and jealousy. In real life, I don't understand it. But in sports life, yeah, I know. I know exactly how I feel angry towards with these franchises. That was therapeutic. All those Bulls fans in my high school in the 90s. You're not from Chicago, dude. Oh, man. Getting your self-esteem from a team out of town is the loser move of all time. If your buddy lives in New York and he's a Chiefs fan, he's a fucking loser. Yep. Yep. Oh, this is good. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. If you live in Dallas and your homies who are in Dallas and they're Eagles fans, they lost. They will not win in life. You gotta be a fan of your home team. On the record, plenty of people have like weird ties, but I love when people are like, oh, my grandma once visited Oklahoma City. No, you're insecure and you need a third party who's winning to give you self-esteem. Uh-oh. 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 All right, let's keep going.
Hey, Sassy, you just turned 50. I'm about to turn 37. What would be advice you would have given yourself 13 years ago in reference to that?
Listen, I'm one of the most consistent content creators in the world. My belief systems are really simple, which is all of you are crippled by insecurity about many things. Random strangers' opinions about your looks, how much money someone else makes, how much fame someone else makes. In fact, one of my biggest pet peeves in the world, get ready to put this, how on earth did 8.3 billion people decide to focus on 83 people that are billionaires and the most attractive and the most unbelievable people on earth and decide their life sucks because of 83 people instead of looking at the other 8.3 billion people? We completely lost our way. Nobody else's life, happiness, success, beauty, fame has anything to do with you. No one else is taking anything from you. And if you're 37 years old and you think you're finished and it's over, well then you were hanging around the wrong people, you were listening to the wrong people. In fact, many of you, let's get into some real talk here. The great mistake of the 1,200 people, the 1,148 people that are watching this morning right now, the greatest mistake is they are listening to people that they don't even want to be like. The amount of you that listen to your mom, who's also cynical, or your aunt, or your boss, or your coworker, the amount of you that listen and believe people that you don't even want to be like is blowing my mind and upsetting me. It's a problem. You need to start paying attention to people you want to be like. But people that you want to be like are pushing love, not hate. People that you want to be like are choosing accountability, not blame. People that you want to be like are talking about hard work, not blaming the system. People that you want to be like are talking about patience, not instant gratification. People that you want to be like are talking about hard stuff, not easy stuff. That's it. That's it, friends. I got nothing else for you at 9:21 a.m. Eastern. Stop listening to people that are losing, that are trying to misery loves company you, and start putting positivity, accountability, and optimism. Ayo! That's what we're about here. You like that, Aaron? That was a good one. Ayo! You know what Ayo is? If you've been watching me on TikTok Live, which is a section of mine going into 2026, I will be live all the time, so please follow me. Top left corner, hit my face, follow me, and hit the bell. Ayo stands for accountability and optimism. Accountability and optimism. Accountability and optimism. It's on me, and we can do it. It's on me, and we can do it. It's my fault, not their fault, and I know I can. Listen, and if I'm triggering you right now because you don't want that shit, you don't want to be accountable. You like laying in the mud and pointing fingers at the government, at your boss, at your mom and dad, well then you go to the next step like me. You can swipe away from me right now. I don't want you to because I want to grab you and shake you and get you to happiness and lack of anxiety. I want that so bad. I'm so grateful for my joy, my peace of mind, my accountability. I want that for you. I want this for you so bad. I want this for you so bad. But a lot of you are not ready for my heat. You're like, screw this guy, easy for you, you're rich, you're this, you're that, you're a white male. You can excuse me up. But let me promise you, most of you don't know me like that. You don't know where I'm from. Actually, I got a good one. Check this out, everybody. Let me show you where I'm from. Because my cousin Bob's down the photo with me. You know what? I want you to like, let me show you where I'm actually from. This photo has never been seen before even by my family until the other day. Look at this shack. I look like, this is 1976 in Russia, but it looks like 1922 in America. Hold up. I'm from the, look at this, look at this. Look at this, look where I'm born, look where I'm from. I'm from the dirt. You understand? That's me, by the way. Look at this sourpuss. I knew I didn't like Russia. Look at this little guy. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be in America. I was like, I don't want to be in Russia. Look at this. Robert, this is where I'm from. Yeah, bro. I need you to, I'm happy. I'm so happy I get to see your face, Robert. That's where I'm from. Dirt. Dirt, bro. Dirt. I want to hear it.
Oh,
you can do this. You're right, Justin. My parents made me move. And we lived in Woodford, studio apartment, Queens. Grandma gets mugged first week in America. We're all excited in America. Like, it was a struggle, but we worked. Anyway, let's keep it going. How many people have never seen me before, just FYP'd, and are feeling some value here? Say first time, good time. Thank you, culinary icon. Thank you, Lux. Now let's go the other way. OGs, who's been watching me for more than 5 years? Put a 5 in here. My plan for 2026 is to be live. Please learn about V-Friends. If you're a Pokemon, Marvel, sports cards, watch, sneaker collector, learn about my world, please. Go ahead, Rob, what's the next question?
Got some relationship advice question. Josh, after a big mistake in a relationship, I'm left waiting for the other party to decide whether we'll continue. My instincts say reach out, but I suspect the wiser move is to let them come to me if they're going to. How do I deal with the wait in between, and when is it time to make a move?
By being accountable. You made the mistake. You to me, and you just sit. And you know, life is life. Like, that person may not be able to forgive you, and everything moves on. Maybe they will, and your relationship is stronger. Maybe you learn from it. But I think you gotta sit in the pain. When you make mistakes, you're supposed to sit in pain. And that's it. That's all I got. Like, I think this person needs to wait it out. When he says make a move, whether it's to reach out or move on with another relationship, that's on you. Relationship advice is hard. But I think for everyone that's hanging out here, understanding that when you make a mistake, you have to feel the pain is a great thing to learn. This is why I love sports. Losing is good. You played, you lost, you gotta sit with it. You can be a psycho like I was as a kid and say, we gotta play again. Like, nobody ever liked to, like my older cousin Bobby hated to play with me when I was little because I lost and cool to him. Play again, play again, play again. That's tenacity, that's learning. You know, a lot of kids, by the way, if you're a parent that has a kid that shies away from playing board games and other things, that's called insecurity. You want to teach kids to learn to love to lose. My relationship with losing, my love of losing, is incredibly challenging. All right, let's keep it going.
Sure, Cal. Even the next 10 years, what are the industries I should position my kids to work?
Next 10 years, industries you should position your kids. I really like HVAC, electricians. You know, I like the manual labor thing because I think the data centers with AI harder than a pirate. I think a lot of people are gonna really see that. Number two, actually, before I answer the other two, the real answer is you don't position your kids into an industry that you think is going to have money in 10 years. You position your kids into an industry that they are clearly showing interest in because passion is the fuel to hard work. Hard work is how good stuff happens. I have no interest in my two kids to be an entrepreneur, to be an electrician, to be anything else I want them to be. I want them to like their game the way I like my game. Whether that's a teacher, a guidance counselor, a softball teacher, a gardener, a ceramics instructor, a ski lift operator, and coffee. Like, I don't just like your life. We become so materialistic, so keeping up with the Joneses. And I love how everyone's like all upset out here, and meanwhile continue to like strive for like burqa bags and a million Instagram followers, and they don't realize what the problem is. The problem is we've lost our way from simplicity. I want my kids to not have anxiety on their chest, which means self-esteem and doing something they like. Real self-esteem, not over-coddling bullcrap, modern parenting bullcrap, where you fight their fights for them. Kids need to lose. In fact, I believe every boy between the ages of 5 and 12 should get punched directly in the face by another man. I feel like that is the step one of becoming a natural man. And you know, everyone gets triggered, like, Gary, violent, blah, blah, blah. Okay, raise your kids the way you want. But I think when a 7-year-old boy runs his mouth and a boy punches him in the face, it's a good life lesson.
已经很久以前了，11年，10年前。
You all grow up over-coddled and never got punched in the face. Oh man, I love it. Because when you got punched in the face, you're respectful. I don't know. One man's point of view. By the way, I'm not advocating violence. What are we talking about? I'm talking about old 1980s dirt in the hand kind of stuff. There's no balance. Parents going to school and teachers because their kid got B and they want an A. Over-coddled. Got 27-year-old grown men walking around New York City with their mom having Life 360 on them, asking why they're still out at 11 p.m. We need men. Ladies too, it's all about discipline and like respect and I don't know. Everyone's like, everything's all screwed up. Let's blame it on social media. Nah, let's blame it on parenting. Let's blame it on HH trophies. Let's blame it on running our mouth. Let's blame it on people coming on people's social media platforms and being negative on that. I don't know. Of course, Washington, don't punch children. When I said punch, I meant an 8-year-old against an 8-year-old. Mano a mano. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go.
I got something.
Okay, rock off.
We got a question from Adam, which is, I've noticed from the Sora 2 platform now, what are your thoughts on how to engage with the audience authentically on a tool where everything is AI generated?
Well, ideas are coming from humans. Like, people have been making videos with me on Sora 2. If everybody goes to my Schmistastam, if you're asking me why I'm calling the very popular app Schmistastam, it's because I don't want the algorithm here to hurt me. When you mention other sites, it hurts you here on TikTok. So if you go to my Schmistastam, you'll see my latest post and the link in my bio is to an AI-generated social network. Sora 2 is going after that space. I'm very excited about it. The AI ideas are authentic because they're coming from a human. The output is obviously generated, but like, I don't know, like when we Photoshop and we put edits on top of, I mean, what's authentic? People use unlimited, you know, all these ladies are trying to trick us with all their filters and all these angles. I mean, people know how to angle as if they've been doing meat exercises for 6 years. Is that authentic? What's authentic? I mean, I actually think the idea is authentic. All the videos that people have made with me, and by the way, all of you can go to my Instagram hit the link in the bio, download the new app, and it's unbelievable. So that's it. I think we're going to forget about AI's authenticity pretty quickly. I do think that videos of people saying things they didn't say, there's a TikTok ad running right now with me promoting a product, and it looks like me. So there's going to be that authentic issue that we're going to have to deal with. All right, let's keep it going.
Johnny asks, can you break down the skill set required to be a great content creator on social versus skill set to be a great live seller?
Social media creators. So for example, Seth is in the building, lead creative on our world, great Madman Madison Avenue dude, also has YouTube skills, one of the reasons I hired him. What I'm pushing him and everybody at Vayner to understand, you know this, Raghav, you and Raya, as you know, as Team Gary has leveled up in the last 3 to 4 months compared to where we were, we become hyper-focused, less on operations or other things. We're just focused on views, right? And so what does that mean? That means thumbnail understanding. That means platform understanding. What do I mean by platform understanding? That means understanding that Instagram might be valuing carousels more than videos more than pictures, 10-second videos more than 1-minute videos. Thumbnails, how do you stop someone? Do you have the strategic and creative skill to stop someone in 1 second, right? Do you keep them engaged 3 to 5? You know this, I keep bringing it up. It's not something we've cracked yet. I'm trying to understand, is it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds into a video?
Nu gav vi av det
You know
här.
this, we never
Det
do
var
this.
inte
This is not Gary, Team Gary meeting.
Nu
I
gav
want
det var
something to
inte
pop
bara
up.
det.
6 seconds in. To distract them. Right, like 5 or 6 seconds in. Pops up, follow me on Sora. Like, first 5 people with DM me comic books right now will get a free comic. Does that pops up? That whole pop-up video on VH1? Like, what are you doing 5, 10, 15 seconds in? For brands, 5 seconds in the video, DM us and we'll send you a coupon. No one in my company's thinking about that yet. We gotta get more advanced in that skill. That is a content creator, right? A live shopping person needs to understand how to get people excited about buying something. Right now I have a
这个
comic
要
book pin.
吃，要放微波炉叮。
我不想再吃，3个够了。昨天吃3个就够了。
那是3个，对不对？
昨天吃3个，我忘记了，反正就超过3
我煮
个。
的空气菜好吃吗？不吃换爸爸明天吃。
给爸爸吃哈。
Has the sold items intrigued you, right? Has it been intrigued, right? Mel's Heart Studio, John Ship, people are intrigued. That may get them to understand, not my hyperbole saying, hey, buy my stuff. No, we're actually building it. It's been building for 4 years. They might have heard about it, but they might not fully understand what's happening. Let's keep it going. What can I answer for you? What's the next question?
We got a question from Boomer. I'm an electrical engineering graduate. I want to move into the electrical designing field, but I have a fear that if I keep changing jobs, that it will make a bad reputation on my CV. Is it okay to change a job again if it doesn't suit you? And how do you feel about it?
This is one of the things that is the pet peeve of my life. Your CV/resume, having different jobs, jumping around, different industries, has historically been frowned upon. That was propaganda of corporations to make employees stay in companies. I have no idea what any of you, like, I don't know anything. In fact, Seth was at Anomaly too long. I wasn't hired into that company too long. I'm obviously joking. I do, you know, as a business owner, you do like to see longevity and loyalty because you value that, you're looking for that. But I've hired unlimited people that have been at 6 different places 6 months a piece because I'm a human being and I'm empathetic and I understand some people need to do that. Everyone, if you are not quitting your bullcrap job right now, if you are not quitting your bullcrap job right now because you're scared of how it's going to look on your resume, quit. People, I don't even know a single, if you ask me what college, Court, Train, or Seth went to, no idea. We don't even require a college degree at VaynerX. It's just not even on, the rules have changed. Yes, this guy again, my bucket list 88, it's good to see you, good morning. And see, the college isn't a scam. College is a problem for creative and entrepreneurial people who collect debt to go to college. If your mommy and daddy pay for college, it's the best. It's a 4-year vacation of pure fun and debauchery. But if you're collecting debt and you're creative or entrepreneurial, you're in deep doo-doo. It's one of the great mistakes. All right, let's keep going.
Maurice is asking, after spending 18 years in the corporate world, I've decided to quit, and you played a role in this bold decision. But I'm unsure how to unlearn my corporate mindset. How can I discover my true passion and understand what I genuinely enjoy doing, given that it's unfamiliar to explore this?
I'm going to say such a weird analogy right now. This is super weird. Everybody follow with me. I've just been diagnosed with a mind-muscle issue to my left glute. Have you guys noticed that when I take a photo, my left leg pops out? Do you know that after years of believing that that's because it's genetics from my great-grandfather, because there's photos of him doing it, that in the last 3 weeks, it's because I don't have my muscle memory between my brain and my left glute. It's fully shut off, which is why I have back issues. My adductor and QL compensate. So literally, I have glute amnesia, like I can't connect it. I am working on that, and I'm working through every day the PT. And so I'm really excited about that. I've already paid enormous dividends on it. And the same thing for this gentleman. He needs to put in the PT. He needs to put in the hard work that does not come natural to his brain to explore new things. He needs to sign up for free tango classes. He needs to sign up for cooking classes. He needs to go to master class and buy 7 different courses on different things. You have to force yourself to be uncomfortable. Everything that is not natural is hard. You have to force yourself into it. And it's discipline, it's grinding through the tough days. This morning I did not want to wake up at 6:30 and do PT. Was not something I wanted to do. You know, like, man, it's Tuesday before Thanksgiving. All these motherfuckers are not even working today. I'm like PT and I got all these meetings. You know, like, I really, that's like, I wake up like that too, but that's like 4 seconds. I'm human. I'm not a robot yet. But I persevered through it. I fought it. I fought it. I fought it. Fought it. Fought it. You guys don't want to fight because mommy overcoddled. It's real talk. Gotta get out of our overcoddling. Gotta get into our grit. We gotta get into the mud. I feel like everybody needs to play backyard football this December. Tackle football. I have a big idea for everyone. This Thanksgiving, if it's super cold and rainy where you are, force everybody in your family to play backyard tackle football and tackle the shit out of your grandma. Break her hip! Not actually, that's wrong. Grandma went through this struggle. She knows. Destroy your young cousin. Blow up his spot. We need to get dirtier. We need to bleed. We need to cry. Like, we need grit. We are a mature empire in first world countries. Most of Western Europe, America. Like, we're getting soft. Grit. Grit. Washu says, guys, don't do elder abuse. He's right. Washu is really holding it down in here and hedging my overexcitement. I'm trying to make my point in a verbal, fun way. Chris G says, bro started falling off and now he's selling his own comic books. Respect, Chris, but I don't think so, my guy. I think it's the other way. I think I'm building the next Pokemon. I can't wait to chop it. I hope I meet you somewhere in 20 years, and we'll see who's right. But Chris, I'm wishing you the best Thanksgiving, my guy, and I know you're just playing. Oh, turkey head!
我问 ChatGPT 问
I
题
like，Chris in here. All right, everybody, I gotta go do some family stuff. I love all of you.
那个游戏不上瘾，但我不知道我主消掉了，我就感觉浪费时间。
I will be on TikTok live all the time. Drew says I appreciate your enthusiasm. I appreciate all of you. Z Williams, thank you. Paul Walnut.
在那个游戏，中国的 capital 是西安，但是它好像一直变，从西安变到南京，然后又变到北京。
Nikki, thank you for the love. Stephanie, thank you. Giselle, listen, all of you, please learn VFriends. If you're ready for a screenshot, if you want to learn VFriends, get ready for a screenshot. You know, grab your phone, here we go. If you're ready, bang. All right? Bang. Everybody screenshot this right now. Text me to this number. You can, if you're international, you can do that too on WhatsApp.
好
Text me
像
to that
是
number.
它正午一直换。
Text me to this number. Text the word VFriends to that number, and I'll keep you updated on how I'm building the next Disney, Pokemon, Marvel. I'm building it. Also, please go to the top left corner, click my face, follow, and hit the bell. Follow 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 and hit the bell. If you just hit the bell, let me know, because I'm going to be live all the time. 2026. Christy, I still do go to the garage sales. I'm going to be filming some. Last place. Everyone. Stuart, if you hit the bell, if you go to the top
好像
corner,
1940年还是不是南京啊？要不然日本怎么会去打南京？我也忘记了，反正我也不太理解。
Yeah, cool. Alyssa, if you hit my face up in the top left corner, the bell pops up.
那个还有那个 Terracotta Warrior，
Email notification. Nice, interesting. Stuart, I appreciate that. That's very kind. The Skilla, good to see you. Hoop Social, thank you. Fishing Factor, got the notification. I love it. Thank you, Matt. Matt, be here on TikTok now. I'm gonna be on TikTok live a ton next year. I mean, like 7, 10 times a week, answering your questions, hanging out, teaching you live shopping.
以前叫什么长安？
Not what I say. I did a whole show of value right now, but I did have my comic books pinned up.
罗阳
Is 25 considered old? Shrimp.
南京
I feel like people are trying to crash me out, Raghav. Is 25?
南京市 capital 在到1949年。
I'm not even sure you're alive yet at 25. What's the matter with you? I love all of you. I hope you have the best Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. Or
是什么
celebrating.
寿
I can show them one last time. Here we go.
什么寿
If you want,
都
screenshot. 212-931-5731. Everybody put this phone number in the chat.
1949年还是南京，然后以后就变成北京。
In the screen, excuse me, in the chat, type the word VFriends to me. I'm building it to the moon. Building the next
但它一直
I
换
wish you the best, Sydney. Like the best year. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Have the best week. We'll see you soon. Walk like an Egyptian.
OK。
You want to really believe in how marketing works? Make a great fucking video, target it properly, get hundreds of thousands of people to see quite a bit of it, and then remarket them for a call to action and watch how many convert. You'll believe in marketing for the rest of your life. There you go. We have 5 to 10 more years to get the number one asset in the world. My friends, the number one asset in the world is not land. The number one asset in the world is not buildings and apartments. The number one asset in the world is not cash. The number one asset in the world is...
One thing that I learned from Gary Vee today was this.
Look at me. I want you to put your two fists out like this. Now I want you to do this. Now I want you to do this. Now, I want you to do this. Speech here in Mexico, real estate thing. Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you. Like, training's gonna have to be in the
Morning.
office because at any moment there might be filming to be done. And we'll find people like Train who realize it's better to be in the office than to be at home. And I think, by the way, a lot of people, now that we're 5 years in, a lot of people, the biggest wave right now is people quitting their remote jobs and going in office. They're lonely. They're not learning.
I ask you for a big round of applause for Gary Vee.
My friends, the most important place for all of you, what you do for a living, number one, not to go with somebody who's got a lot of money and go golf and make a relationship, not tonight have dinner with 4 or 5 prospective clients, not study this project and other projects at your desk for 5, 10, 100 hours to understand. The number one thing that will change every person in this room's life financially is making content for social media. Whoever has the most attention wins. Whoever has the most attention and knows what to do with the attention, they really win. You, of all people, should know that amassing attention on this can change the geopolitics of the world, can change who has control, can change the way people think about things. So if it's powerful enough to completely upend the world and change social normalities, how will it not work for you to sell a fucking home? This was the first time in the history of marketing and business that you could reach the world and it was free. That is incredible. It makes no sense. For all of us that grew up and did business, that makes no sense. I used to pay lots of money to reach so few people. Now I can reach every single person on earth for free. This is a level of democracy, a level of merit, a level of capitalism, a level of opportunity that we may never, ever, ever see again because we had never, ever, ever seen it before. My friends, you've got 5 years. I need you to squeeze hard. Every one of you, regardless of where you're at, I need you to go and squeeze hard. That's it.
11 o'clock, you got a flight to catch, and we want to present you with an award. It's a true honor to present you with the Arrow Bright Award, a symbol of vision, leadership, and legacy. Your work has inspired millions around the globe to embrace authenticity, resilience, and innovation. Your voice and actions have become a guiding light for entrepreneurs and dreamers who seek to turn passion into purpose.
It's incredible, incredible, incredible. I just have one last thing to say. I have about 4 minutes. I'm ready for selfies. Get up here, let's go, let's go. Okay, I'm here. I'll be back. That's your way. She's with us. Thank you. Yeah, felt really good, you know. I haven't been on stage as much over the last couple of years and starting to get the... Yes, Curly, love you. Love you. You good? I love you. There you go. Yeah, but you keep building. Stay well. So, you know, just... I love people, so the stage is very easy for me to love because I'm with a lot of people at once. So, Mexico is just such an incredible place, so many passionate, incredible people, very ambitious people, so it was really good. Thank you. Love you, bro. Gotta go. So, team, are you guys ready? Go, let's go.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day. Hey Joe, good to see you again. We were just talking about, was that the first time we ever spoke? Or was the first time we spoke at SpaceX? SpaceX the first time. When you were giving Elon that crazy AI chip.
Right, DGX Spark.
Yeah, ooh, that was a big moment.
That was huge.
That felt crazy to be there. It was like watching these wizards of tech like exchange information and you're giving him this crazy device, you know? And then the other time was I was shooting arrows in my backyard and randomly get this call from Trump. He's hanging out with you.
President Trump called, and I called you.
Yeah, it's just
We were talking about you.
it's just
He was talking about he was talking about the UFC thing he was going to do in his front yard.
Yeah.
And he pulls out. He's Jensen, look at this design. He's so proud of it. And I go, you're going to have a fight in the front lawn in the White House? He goes, yeah, you're going to come. This is going to be awesome. And he's showing his design, how beautiful it is. And he goes, and somehow your name comes up. He goes, "Do you know Joe?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to be on his podcast." He's like, "Let's call him."
He's like a kid.
I know, let's call him.
It's so he's like a
Hey, tell Joe.
79-year-old kid.
He's so incredible.
Yeah, he's an odd guy. Just very different. You know, like what you'd expect from him. Very different than what people think of him, and also just very different as president. The guy who just calls you or texts you out of the blue. Also, he makes when he texts you, you have an Android, so it won't go through with you. But with my iPhone, he makes the text go big. Like,
Is that right?
The USA is respected again. Like, all caps, and it makes the text enlarge. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, the one-on-one President Trump is very different. He surprised me. First of all, he's an incredibly good listener. Almost everything I've ever said to him, he's remembered.
Yeah, people don't. They only want to look at negative stories about him or negative narratives about him. You know, you can catch anybody on a bad day. Like, there's a lot of things he does where I don't think he should do. Like, I don't think he should say to a reporter, "Quiet piggy." Like, that's pretty ridiculous. Also, objectively funny. I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened to her. I wouldn't want that to happen to her, but it was funny. Just ridiculous that the president does that. I wish he didn't do that. But other than that, like, he's an interesting guy. Like, he's a lot of different things wrapped up into one person. You know?
You know, part of his charm, well, part of his genius is just he says what's on his mind.
Yes.
And
Which
that's
is like
also
an anti-politician.
Yeah, right. So you know what's on his mind is really what's on his mind.
Which
and
I
he's
think
telling you
people
what he
prefer.
believes. I do.
Well,
that
some
too.
people. Some people would rather be lied to.
Yeah, but I like the fact that he's telling you what's on his mind. Almost every time he explains something, he says something, he starts with you could tell his love for America, what he wants to do for America, and everything that he thinks through is very practical and very common sense, and you know, it's very logical. And I still remember the first time I met him. So this was I'd never met him before, and Secretary Lutnick called, and we met right at the beginning of the administration. He told me what was important to President Trump, that United States manufactures onshore, and that was really important to him because it's important to national security. He wants to make sure that the important critical technology of our nation is built in the United States, and that we reindustrialize and get good at manufacturing again because it's important for jobs.
It just seems like common sense, right?
Incredible common sense, and that was like literally the first conversation I had with Secretary Lutnick, and he was talking about how that he started our conversation with Jensen. This is Secretary Lutnick, and I just want to let you know that you're a national treasure. NVIDIA is a national treasure, and whenever you need access to the president, the administration, you call us. We're always going to be available to you. Literally, that was the first sentence.
That's pretty nice.
And it was completely true. Every single time I called, if I needed something, want to get something off my chest, express some concern, they're always available. Incredible.
It's just unfortunate we live in such a politically polarized society that you can't recognize good
No,
common
it's
sense things
so.
if they're coming from a person you
真胖。
object to. And that, I think, is what's going on.
真
And
胖。
most people generally, as a country, you know, as a giant community, which we are, it just only makes sense that we have manufacturing in America, especially critical technology, like you're talking about. Like, it's kind of insane that we buy so much technology from other countries.
If the United States doesn't grow, we will have no prosperity. We can't invest in anything domestically or otherwise. We can't fix any of our problems. If we don't have energy growth, we can't have industrial growth. If we don't have industrial growth, we can't have job growth. It's as simple as that.
Right.
And the fact that he came into office and the first thing that he said was drill baby drill. His point is we need energy growth. Without energy growth, we can have no industrial growth. And it saved the AI industry. I got to tell you flat out, if not for his pro-growth energy policy, we would not be able to build factories for AI. We would not be able to build chip factories. We surely won't be able to build supercomputer factories. None of that stuff would be possible. Without all of that, construction jobs would be challenged, right? Electrician jobs, all of these jobs that are now flourishing would be challenged. And so I think he's got it right. We need energy growth. We want to reindustrialize the United States. We need to be back in manufacturing. Every successful person doesn't need to have a PhD. Every successful person doesn't have to have gone to Stanford or MIT. And I think that sensibility is spot on.
Now, when we're talking about technology growth and energy growth, there's a lot of people that go, "Oh no, that's not what we need. We need to, simplify our lives and get back." But the real issue is that we're in the middle of a giant technology race, and whether people are aware of it or not, whether they like it or not, it's happening, and it's a really important race because whoever gets to whatever the event horizon of artificial intelligence is, whoever gets there first has massive advantages in a huge way. Do you agree with that?
Well, first, the part I will say that we are in a technology race, and we are always in a technology race. We've been in a technology race with somebody forever. Right. Since the Industrial Revolution, we've been in a technology
Since the
race.
Manhattan Project.
Yeah. Or even going back to the discovery of energy, right? The United Kingdom was where
游戏是 strategy game， 我不打了，被我install， 因为我会花10个小时在2天，然后我就取掉了。它是一个 strategy game。
largely in Europe. And the United States capitalized.
你看 YouTube 就可以看得到。
We industrialized it. We diffused it faster than.
叫 它名字叫 Civilization 6，好像2016出来，是 AI 推荐给我。
Disruptions. Meanwhile, the United
不
States
好玩，
just took the technology and ran with it.
因为它很慢，我玩10个小时都玩不了。
Manhattan Project was a technology race. We've been in the technology race ever since during the Cold War. I think we're still in the technology race. it is probably the single most important race. It is
看
the
别人打游
technology
戏
is,
就没有那么上瘾，自己打游戏就上瘾。
You know, whether it's information superpowers or energy superpowers or military superpowers is all founded in technology. And so technology leadership is really important.
Well, the problem is if somebody else has superior technology, right? That's the issue.
That's
And
right.
it seems like with the AI race, people are very nervous about it. Like, you know, Elon has famously said that it's like 80% chance it's awesome, 20% chance we're in trouble. And people are worried about that 20%, rightly so. I mean, that, you know, if you had 10 bullets in a revolver and, you know, you took out 8 of them, you still have 2 in there and you spin it, you're not gonna feel real comfortable when you pull that trigger. It's terrifying.
Right.
And when we're working towards this ultimate goal of AI, it's impossible to imagine that it wouldn't be of national security interest to get there first.
We should. The question is, what's there? That was the part.
What
that
is there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I
That's
don't
the
think anybody really knows.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
though. If I
Yeah.
ask you,
Yeah.
you're the head of NVIDIA.
Yeah.
If you don't know
Yeah.
what's there, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be much more gradual than we think. It won't be a moment. It won't be as if somebody arrived and nobody else has it. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be things that just get better and better and better and better, just like technology does.
So you are rosy about the future. You're very optimistic about what's going to happen with AI. Obviously, will you make the best AI chips in the world? You probably better be.
If history is a guide, we were always concerned about new technology. Humanity has always been concerned about new technology. There are always somebody who's thinking. There are always a lot of people who are quite concerned. We're quite concerned. And
牛屁股
so
真臭，
if
真
history is
是
a
很
guide,
臭
it，is the case that all of this
真
concern
臭
is
的那种
channeled
脸，
into
屁股臭臭的。
And so, for example, in the last several years, I would say AI technology has increased probably in the last 2 years alone, maybe 100x. I'll just give it a number. Okay, it's like a car 2 years ago was 100 times slower. So AI is 100 times more capable today. Now, how did we channel that technology? How do we channel all of that power? We directed it to causing the AI to be able to think, meaning that it can take a problem that we give it, break it down step by step. It does research before it answers, and so it grounds it on truth. It'll reflect on that answer, ask itself, is this the best, answer that I can give you? Am I certain about this answer? If it's not certain about the answer or highly confident about the answer, it'll go back and do more research. It might actually use a tool.
我觉得 Trump 不会怕看像一个傻瓜，这
And we channeled it
这肯定是他优势。
into
我发现他这个
a more truthful.
健身话他不会骂
One of the
那
greatest
个
criticisms of
美
AI
国总
today was
统。
that it hallucinated.
Right.
And so, if you look at the reason why people use AI so much today, is because the amount of hallucination has reduced. I use it I use it the whole trip over here. And so I think the capability, most people think about power, and they think about, maybe it's an explosion power. But the technology power, most of it is channeled towards safety. A car today is more powerful, but it's safer to drive. A lot of that power goes towards better handling. I'd rather have you have a 1,000 horsepower truck. I think 500 horsepower is pretty good. No, 1,000 better. I think 1,000's better.
I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely faster.
Yeah, no, I think it's better. You can get out of trouble faster. I enjoyed my 599 more than my 612. I think it was better, and more horsepower is better. My 459 is better than my 430. More horsepower is better. I think more horsepower is better. I think it's better handling. It's better control. In the case of technology, it's also very similar in that way. And so if you look at what we're going to do with the next 1,000 times of performance in AI, a lot of it is going to be channeled towards more reflection, more research, thinking about the answer more deeply.
So when you're defining safety, you're defining it as accuracy.
Functionality.
Functionality. Okay.
It does what you expect it to do. And then you take all the technology and horsepower, you put guardrails on it, just like our cars. We've got a lot of technology in a car today. A lot of it goes towards, for example, ABS. ABS is great. And so traction control, that's fantastic. Without a computer in the car, how would you do any of that?
Right.
And that little computer, the computer that you have doing your traction control, is more powerful than the computer that went to Apollo 11. And so you want that technology, channel it towards safety, channel it towards functionality. And so when people talk about power, the advancement of technology, oftentimes I feel what they're thinking and what we're actually doing is very different.
Well, what do you think they're thinking?
Well, they're thinking somehow that this AI is being powerful, and their mind probably goes towards a sci-fi movie, the definition of power. Oftentimes the definition of power is military power or physical power, but in the case of technology power, when we translate all of those operations, it's towards more refined thinking, more reflection, more planning, more options.
I think the big fears that people have is a big fear is military applications.
Yeah.
That's a big fear.
Yeah.
Because people are very concerned that you're going to have AI systems that make decisions that maybe an ethical person wouldn't make or a moral person wouldn't make based on achieving an objective versus based on, how it's going to look to people.
Well, I'm happy that our military is going to use AI technology for defense, and I think that Anduril building military technology. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to see all these tech startups now channeling their technology capabilities towards defense and military applications. I think you need to do that.
Yeah, we had Palmer Luckey on the podcast. He was demonstrating some of
Yeah,
this
it's
stuff with his
incredible.
helmet on, and he showed some videos how you could see behind walls and stuff. It's nuts.
And he's actually the perfect guy to go start that company.
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's like he was born for that. Yeah, he came through with a copper jacket on. He's a freak. It's awesome. He's awesome. But it's also a an unusual intellect channeled into that very bizarre field is what you need. You know?
And I think I think I'm happy that we're making it more socially acceptable. You know, there was a time where when somebody wanted to channel their technology capability and their intellect into defense technology, somehow they're vilified. But we need people like that. We need people who enjoy that part of application of technology.
Well, people are terrified of war. So it makes sense.
Best way to avoid it has excessive military might.
Do you think that's absolutely the best way? Not diplomacy, not working stuff out?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
You have to have military might in order to get people to sit down.
Right, exactly. All of it.
Otherwise, they just invade.
That's right. Why ask for permission?
Again, like you said, history. Go back and look at history.
That's right.
When you look at the future of AI, and you just said that no one really knows what's happening, do you ever sit down and ponder scenarios? Like, what do you think is like best case scenario for AI over the next 2 decades?
The best case scenario is that AI diffuses into everything that we do, and everything's more efficient, but the threat of war remains a threat of war. Cybersecurity remains a super difficult challenge. Somebody is going to try to breach your security. You're going to have thousands of millions of AI agents protecting you from that threat. Your technology is going to get better. Their technology is going to get better, just like cybersecurity. Right now, while we speak, we're seeing cyber attacks all over the planet on just about every front door you can imagine. And yet, you and I are sitting here talking. And so the reason for that is because we know that there's a whole bunch of cybersecurity technology in defense. And so we just have to keep amping that up, keep stepping that up.
This episode is brought to you by Visible. When your phone plan's as good as Visible, you've got to tell your people. It's the ultimate wireless hack to save money and still get great coverage and a reliable connection. Get one-line wireless with unlimited data and hotspot for $25 a month, taxes and fees included, all on Verizon's 5G network. Plus, now for a limited time, new members can get the Visible plan for just $19 a month for the first 26
Welcome
months.
back.
Use promo code SWITCH26 and save beyond the season. It's a deal so good, you're going to want to tell your people. Switch now at visible.com/Rogan. Terms apply. Limited time offers subject to change. See visible.com for plan features and network management details. That's a big issue with people, is the worry that technology is going to get to a point where encryption is going to be obsolete. Encryption is it's no longer going to protect data, it's no longer going to protect systems. Do you anticipate that ever being an issue, or do you think it's as the defense grows, the threat grows, then defense grows, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and they'll always be able to fight off any sort of intrusions?
Not forever. Some intrusion will get in, and then we'll all learn from it. And the reason why cybersecurity works is because, of course, the technology of defense is advancing very quickly. The technology of offense is advancing very quickly. However, the benefit of the cybersecurity defense is that socially, the community, all of our companies work together as one. Most people don't realize this. There's a whole community of cybersecurity experts. We exchange ideas, we exchange best practices, we exchange what we detect. The moment something has been breached, or maybe there's a loophole or whatever it is shared by everybody. The patches are shared with everybody.
That's interesting.
Yeah, most people don't realize this.
No, I had no idea. I've assumed that it would just be competitive like everything else. No keep
we
secrets.
work together, all of us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Has that always been the case?
It surely has been the case for about 15 years. It might not have been the case long ago, but this
What do you think started off that cooperation?
People recognizing it's a challenge and no company can stand alone.
Mm.
And the same thing is going to happen with AI. I think we all have to decide, working together to stay out of harm's way is our best chance for defense. Then it's basically everybody against the threat.
And it also seems like you'd be way better at detecting where these threats are coming from and neutralizing them too.
Exactly, because the moment you detect it somewhere,
Right.
you're going to find out right away.
It'll be really hard to hide.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's the reason why it's safe. That's why I'm sitting here right now instead of knocking everything down in the video.
It's
Not only am I watching my own back, I've got everybody watching my back, and I'm watching everybody else's back.
it's a bizarre world, isn't it? When you think about that,
And
cyber
this
threats.
idea about cybersecurity is unknown to the people who are talking about AI threats. I think when they think about AI threats and AI cybersecurity threats, they have to also think about how we deal with it today. Now, there's no question that AI is a new technology, and it's a new type of software. In the end, software just is a new type of software, and so it's going to have new capabilities. But so will the defense. Where you use the same AI technology to go defend against it.
So do you anticipate a time ever in the future where it's going to be impossible? Where there's not going to be any secrets? Where the bottleneck between the technology that we have and the information that we have, information is just all a bunch of ones and zeros, it's out there on hard drives, and the technology has more and more access to that information. Is it ever going to get to a point in time where there's no way to keep a secret?
I don't
Because it seems like that's where everything is kind of headed in a
I
weird
don't
way.
think so. I think the quantum computers were supposed to.
Right.
Quantum computers will make it possible. Will make it so that the previous encryption technology is obsolete. But that's the reason why the entire industry is working on post-quantum encryption technology.
Well,
now.
that would go.
I'm trying to buy some
And the crazy thing is when you hear about
NFT.
the kind of computation that quantum computing can do,
Yeah.
and the power that it has,
Yeah.
where you're looking at all the supercomputers in the world, it take billions of years, and it takes them a few minutes to
Yeah,
solve these
right.
equations. Like, how do you make encryption for something that can do that?
I'm not sure, but I've got a bunch of scientists who are working on that.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you figured it out.
Yeah, we got a bunch of scientists who are expert in that.
Is the ultimate fear that it can't be breached? That quantum computing will always be able to decrypt all other quantum computing encryption?
I don't
It
think
just
so.
gets to some point where it's like, stop playing the stupid game. We know everything.
I don't think so.
No?
Because I'm history is guide.
History's a
History's
guide
guide.
before AI came around. That's my worry. My worry is this is totally, it's like history was one thing, and then nuclear weapons kind of changed all of our thoughts on war, and mutually assured destruction got everybody to stop using nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
My worry is
The
that
thing is, Joe, is that AI is not going to. It's not like we're cavemen, and then all of a sudden one day AI shows up. Every single day we're getting better and smarter because we have AI, and so we're stepping on our own AI's shoulders. So when whatever that AI threat comes, it's a click ahead. It's not a galaxy ahead. It's just a click ahead. And so I think the idea that somehow this AI is going to pop out of nowhere and somehow think in a way that we can't even imagine thinking and do something that we can't possibly imagine, I think is far-fetched. And the reason for that is because we all have AIs, and there's a whole bunch of AIs being in development. We know what they are, and we're using it. And so every single day we're close to each other.
But don't they do things that are very surprising?
Yeah, but so you have an AI that does something surprising. I'm going to have an AI, and
Right.
my AI looks at your AI and goes, "That's not that surprising."
The fear for the layperson like myself is that AI becomes sentient and makes its own decisions, and then ultimately decides to just govern the world, do it its own way. They're like, you guys, you had a good run, but
Yeah.
we're taking over now.
Yeah, but my AI is going to take care of me. So this is the cybersecurity argument.
Yes.
You
Well, it
have an
is.
AI and it's super smart, but my AI is super smart too. And maybe your AI. Let's pretend for a second that we understand what consciousness is and we understand what sentience is, and that in
And we
fact,
really are just pretending.
okay, let's just pretend for a second
Yeah.
that we believe that. I don't believe actually. I actually don't believe that, but nonetheless, let's pretend we believe that. So your AI is conscious and my AI is conscious, and let's say your AI is, wants to, I don't know, do something surprising. My AI is so smart that it might be surprising to me, but it probably won't be surprising to my AI. And so maybe my AI thinks it's surprising as well, but it's so smart. The moment it sees it the first time, it's not going to be surprised the second time, just like us. And so I think the idea that only one person has AI and that one person's AI compares everybody else's AI as Neanderthal is probably unlikely. I think it's much more like cybersecurity.
Interesting. I think the fear is not that your AI is going to battle with somebody else's AI. The fear is that AI is no longer going to listen to you. That's the fear, is that human beings won't have control over it after a certain point. If it achieves sentience and then has the ability to be autonomous.
That there's one AI.
Well, they just combine.
Yeah, becomes one AI.
That it's a life form.
Yeah.
But there's arguments about that, right? That we're dealing with some sort of synthetic biology, that it's not as simple as new technology, that you're creating a life form.
If it's like life form, let's go along with that for a while. I think it's like life form. As you know, all life forms don't agree. And so I'm going to have to go with your life form and my life form. I'm going to agree. Because my life form is going to want to be the super life form. And now that we have disagreeing life forms, we're back again to where we are.
Well, they would probably cooperate with each other. It would just... the reason why we don't cooperate with each other is we're territorial primates. But AI wouldn't be a territorial primate. It would realize the folly in that sort of thinking, and it would say, listen, there's plenty of energy for everybody. We don't need to dominate. We're not trying to acquire resources and take over the world. We're not looking to find a good breeding partner. We're just existing as a new super life form that these cute monkeys created for us.
Okay, well, that would be a superpower with no ego.
Right.
And if it has no ego, why would it have the ego to do any harm to us?
Well, I don't assume that it would do harm to us, but the fear would be that we would no longer have control, and that we would no longer be the apex species on the planet. This thing that we created would now be. Is that funny?
No, I just think it's not going to happen.
I know you think it's not going to happen, but it could, right? And
It could,
here's the other thing: is like if we're racing towards could, and could be the end of human beings being in control of our own destiny.
I just think it's extremely unlikely.
That's what they said in the Terminator movie.
And it hasn't happened.
No, not yet, but you guys are working towards it. The thing about you're saying about conscience and sentience, that you don't think that AI will achieve consciousness, or that consciousness is specific.
Yeah, what's the definition?
What is the definition to you?
Consciousness. I guess first of all, you need to know about your own existence. You have to have experience, not just knowledge and intelligence. The concept.
The end of human beings being in control of our own destiny.
I just think it's extremely unlikely.
That's what they said in the Terminator movie. Plenty of energy for everybody. We don't need to dominate. We're not trying to acquire resources and take over the world. We're not looking to find a good breeding partner. We're just existing as a new super life form that these cute monkeys created for us.
Okay, well, that would be a superpower with no ego.
Right.
And if it has no ego, why would it have the ego to do any harm to us?
Well, I don't assume that it would do harm to us, but the fear would be that we would no longer have control, and that we would no longer be the apex species on the planet. This thing that we created would now be. Is that funny?
No, I just think it's not going to happen.
I know you think it's not going to happen, but it could, right?
It could.
Here's the other thing: is like if we're racing towards and could be the end of human beings being in control of our own destiny.
I just think it's extremely unlikely.
That's what they said in the Terminator movie.
And it hasn't happened.
No, not yet, but you guys are working towards it. The thing about you're saying about conscience and sentience, that you don't think that AI will achieve consciousness, or that consciousness is specific?
Yeah, what's the definition?
What is the definition to you?
Consciousness. I guess first of all, you need to know about your own existence. You have to have experience, not just knowledge and intelligence. The concept of a machine having an experience, first of all, I don't know what defines experience, why we have experiences, and why this microphone doesn't. And so I think I know, I think I know what consciousness is. The sense of experience, the ability to know self versus the ability to be able to reflect, know our own self, the sense of ego. I think all of those human experiences probably is what consciousness is. But why it exists versus the concept of knowledge and intelligence, which is what AI is defined by today. It has knowledge, it has intelligence, artificial intelligence. We don't call it artificial consciousness. Artificial intelligence, the ability to perceive, recognize, understand, plan, perform tasks. Those things are foundations of intelligence. To know things, knowledge, is clearly different than consciousness.
But consciousness is so loosely defined. How can we say that? I mean, doesn't a dog have consciousness?
Yeah.
Dogs seem to be pretty conscious.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and that's a lower level consciousness than a human being's consciousness.
I'm not sure. Yeah, right.
Well,
the question is what lower level intelligence. It's lower level intelligence.
Yes.
But I don't know that's lower level consciousness.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I believe my dogs feel as much as I feel.
Yeah, they feel a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they get attached to you.
That's right.
They get depressed if you're not
That's
there.
right. Exactly.
Yeah. There's definitely that.
Yeah.
The concept of experience. Right. But isn't AI interacting with society? So doesn't it acquire experience through that interaction?
I don't think interaction is experience. I think
Joe Rogan seems dumb compared to him.
Experience is a collection of feelings, I think.
You're aware that AI, I forget which one, where they gave it some false information about one of the programmers having an affair with his wife just to see how it would respond to it. And then when they said they were going to shut it down, it threatened to blackmail him and reveal his affair. And I was like, whoa, like it's conniving. Like if that's not learning from experience and being aware that you're about to be shut down, which would imply at least some kind of consciousness, or you could kind of define it as consciousness if you were very loose with the term. And if you imagine that this is going to exponentially become more powerful, wouldn't that ultimately lead to a different kind of consciousness than we're defining from biology?
Well, first of all, let's just break down what it probably did. It probably read somewhere, there's probably text, that in these consequences, certain people did that. You know, I could imagine a novel having those words related.
Sure.
And so inside,
it realizes the strategy for survival
it's
is
just a bunch of numbers.
blackmail.
It's just a bunch of numbers that in the collection of numbers that relates to a husband cheating on a wife, has subsequently a bunch of numbers that relates to blackmail and such things. However, whatever the revenge was.
Right.
And so it spewed it out. And so it's just like, you know, it's just as if I'm asking it to write me a poem in Shakespeare. It just, whatever the words are, in that dimensionality, there's dimensionalities, all these vectors in multi-dimensional space. These words that were in the prompt that described the affair subsequently led to one word after another, led to some revenge and something. But it's not because it had consciousness or, it just spewed out those words, generated those words.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
There's learned from patterns that human beings have exhibited, both in literature and in real life.
That's exactly right.
But at a certain point in time, one would say, okay, well, it couldn't do this 2 years ago, and it couldn't do this 4 years ago. Like, when we were looking towards the future, like, at what point in time, when it can do everything a person does, what point in time do we decide that it's conscious? If it absolutely mimics all human thinking and behavior patterns,
that doesn't make it conscious.
It becomes indiscernible. Yeah. It's aware, it can communicate with you the exact same way a person can. Like, is consciousness, like, are we putting too much weight on that concept? Because it seems like it's a version of a kind of consciousness.
It's a version of imitation.
Imitation consciousness, right? But if it perfectly imitates it.
I still think it's an example of imitation.
So it's like a fake Rolex when they 3D print them and make them look
The
indiscernible.
question is, what's the definition of consciousness?
Yeah.
You know?
That's the question, and I don't think anybody's really clearly defined that. That's where it gets weird, and that's where the real doomsday people are worried that you are creating a form of consciousness that you can't control.
I believe it is possible to create a machine that imitates human intelligence and has the ability to understand information, understand instructions, break the problem down, solve problems, and perform tasks. I believe that completely. I believe that we could have a computer that has a vast amount of knowledge, some of it true, some of it not true, some of it generated by humans, some of it generated synthetically, and more of knowledge in the world will be generated synthetically going forward. You know, until now, the knowledge that we have are knowledge that we generate and we propagate and we send to each other and we amplify it and we add to it and we modify it, we change it. In the future, in a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, 90% of the world's knowledge will likely be generated by AI.
That's crazy.
I know, but it's just fine.
But it's just
I know, and the reason for that is this. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
It's because what difference does it make to me that I'm learning from a textbook that was generated by a bunch of people I didn't know, or written by a book that from somebody I don't know, to knowledge generated by AI computers that are assimilating all of this and resynthesizing things? To me, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. We still have to fact check it. We still have to make sure that it's based on fundamental first principles, and we still have to do all of that just like we do today.
Is this taking into account the kind of AI that exists currently? And do you anticipate that, just like we could have never really believed that AI would be, or at least a person like myself would never believe AI would be as so ubiquitous and so it's so powerful today and so important today. We never thought that 10 years ago. Never thought that.
Right.
You imagine what are we looking at 10 years from now?
I think that if you reflect back 10 years from now, you would say the same thing, that we would have never believed that. But
in a different direction.
Right. But if you go forward 9 years from now, and then ask yourself what's going to happen 10 years from now, I think it'll be quite gradual.
One of the things that Elon said that makes me happy is he believes that we're going to get to a point where it's not necessary for people to work, and not meaning that you're going to have no purpose in life, but you'll have, in his words, universal high income, because so much revenue is generated by AI that it will take away this need for people to do things that they don't really enjoy doing just for money. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that because their entire identity and how they think of themselves and how they fit in the community is what they do. Like, this is Mike, he's an amazing mechanic, go to Mike, and Mike takes care of things. But there's going to come a point in time where AI is going to be able to do all those things much better than people do, and people will just be able to receive money. But then what does Mike do? Mike is, really loves being the best mechanic around. What does the guy who, codes, what does he do when AI can code infinitely faster with 0 errors? Like, what happens with all those people? And that is where it gets weird. It's like, because we've sort of wrapped our identity as human beings around what we do for a living. When you meet someone, one of the first things you meet somebody at a party, hi, Joe, what's your name? Mike, what do you do, Mike? And, Mike's like, oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, what kind of law? And you have a conversation, When Mike's like, I get money from the government, I play video games. It gets weird. And I think the concept sounds great until you take into account human nature. And human nature is that we like to have puzzles to solve and things to do, and an identity that's wrapped around our idea that we're very good at this thing that we do for a living.
Yeah, I think
Joe doesn't seem as he's trying to seem more intelligent with him.
So one of the predictions from Jeff Hinton, who started the whole deep learning phenomenon, deep learning technology trend, and incredible researcher, professor at University of Toronto. He discovered the idea of backpropagation, which allows the neural network to learn. And as you know, for the audience, software historically was humans applying first principles and our thinking to describe an algorithm that is then codified, just like a recipe that's codified in software. It looks just like a recipe. How to cook something looks exactly the same, just in a slightly different language. We call it Python or C or C++ or whatever it is. In the case of deep learning, this invention of artificial intelligence, we put a structure of a whole bunch of neural networks and a whole bunch of math units, and we make this large structure. It's like a switchboard of little mathematical units, and we connect it all together. And we give it the input that the software would eventually receive, and we just let it randomly guess what the output is. And so we say, for example, the input could be a picture of a cat, and one of the outputs of the switchboard is where the cat signal is supposed to show up, and all of the other signals, the other one's a dog, the other one's an elephant, the other one's a tiger, and all of the other signals are supposed to be 0 when I show it a cat, and the one that is a cat should be 1. And I show it a cat through this big, huge network of switchboards and math units, and they're just doing multiplies and adds, okay? And this switchboard is gigantic. The more information you're going to give it, the more bigger this switchboard has to be. And what Jeff Hinton discovered was a way for you to guess that, put the cat signal in, put the cat image in, and that cat image, could be a million numbers, because it's a megapixel image, for example, and it's just a whole bunch of numbers, and somehow from those numbers, it has to light up the cat signal. Okay, that's the bottom line. And if the first time you do it, it just comes up with garbage, and so it says the right answer is cat, and so you need to increase this signal and decrease all of the other, and back propagates the outcome through the entire network. And then you show it another, now it's an image of a dog, and it guesses it, takes a swing at it, and it comes up with a bunch of garbage, and you say, no, the answer is this is a dog, I want you to produce dog, and all the other other outputs have to be 0, and I want to back propagate that, and just do it over and over and over again. It's just like showing a kid, this is an apple, this is a dog, this is a cat, and you just keep showing it to them until they eventually get it. Okay, well anyways, that big invention is deep learning. That's the foundation of artificial intelligence. A piece of software that learns from examples. That's basically machine learning, a machine that learns. And so one of the big first applications was image recognition, and one of the most important image recognition applications is radiology. And so he predicted about 5 years ago that in 5 years' time the world won't need any radiologists because AI would have swept the whole field. Well, it turns out AI has swept the whole field. That is completely true. Today, just about every radiologist is using AI in some way. And what's ironic though, what's interesting is that the number of radiologists has actually grown. And so the question is why? That's kind of interesting, right?
It is.
And so the prediction was in fact that 30 million radiologists will be wiped out. But as it turns out, we needed more. And the reason for that is because the purpose of a radiologist is to diagnose disease, not to study the image. The image study is simply a task in service of diagnosing the disease. And so now, the fact that you could study the images more quickly and more precisely without ever making a mistake and never gets tired, you could study more images, you could study it in 3D form instead of 2D, because the AI doesn't care whether it studies images in 3D or 2D. You could study it in 4D. And so now you could study images in a way that radiologists can't easily do, and you can study a lot more of it. And so the number of tests that people are able to do increases. And because they're able to serve more patients, the hospital does better. They have more clients, more patients. As a result, they have better economics. When they have better economics, they hire more radiologists because their purpose is not to study the images. Their purpose is to diagnose disease. And so the question is, what I'm leading up to is, ultimately, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the lawyer? And has the purpose changed? What is the purpose? One of the examples that I gave is for example, if my car became self-driving, will all chauffeurs be out of jobs? The answer probably is not. Because for some chauffeurs, some people who are driving you, they could be protectors. Some people, they're part of the experience, part of the service. So when you get there, they can take care of things for you. And so for a lot of different reasons, not all chauffeurs would lose their jobs. Some chauffeurs would lose their jobs, and many chauffeurs would change their jobs. And the type of applications of autonomous vehicles will probably increase. The usage of the technology would then find new homes. And so I think you have to go back to the purpose of the job. Like for example, if AI comes along, I actually don't believe I'm going to lose my job because my purpose isn't to look at a lot of documents, study emails, look at a bunch of diagrams. The question is what's the job? And the purpose of somebody probably hasn't changed. A lawyer, for example, help people. That probably hasn't changed. Studying legal documents, generating documents is part of the job, not the job.
But don't you think there are that AI will replace?
If your job is automation, if your job is the task.
Okay.
Right. So automation.
Yeah. If your job, if your job is the task.
That's a lot of people.
It could be a lot of people, but it'll probably generate. Like for example, let's say I'm super excited about the robots Elon's working on. It's still a few years away. When it happens,
我有点累，所以把游
there's a whole
戏
new
取
industry
消掉，太
of technicians and people who have to manufacture the robots, right? And so that job never existed. And so you're going to have a whole industry of people taking care of, like for example, all the mechanics and all the people who are building things for cars, supercharging cars. That didn't exist before cars, and now we're going to have robots. You're going to have robot apparels. So a whole industry of, right, isn't that right? Because I want my robot to look different than your robot. And so you're gonna have a whole apparel industry for robots. You're gonna have mechanics for robots, and you have people who come and maintain your robots. No,
you don't think so?
No, not all.
Gonna buy other robots?
Eventually, and then there'll be something else.
So you think ultimately people just adapt, except if you are the task, which is a large percentage of the workforce.
If your job is just to chop vegetables, Cuisinart's gonna replace you.
Yeah. So people have to find meaning in other things.
Your job has to be more than the task.
What do you think about Elon's belief that this universal basic income thing will eventually become necessary? Many people think that. Andrew Yang thinks that. He was one of the first people to sort of sound that alarm during the 2020 election.
Yeah, I guess yeah, both ideas probably won't exist at the same time, and as in life, things will probably be in the middle. One idea, of course, is that there'll be so much abundance of resource that nobody needs a job, and we'll all be wealthy. On the other hand, we're going to need universal basic income. Both ideas don't exist at the same time.
Right.
And so we're either going to be all wealthy, or we're going to be all.
How can everybody be wealthy though?
Well, because wealthy, not because you have a lot of dollars. Wealthy because there's a lot of abundance. Like for example, today we are wealthy of information. You know, this is a concept several thousand years ago, only a few people have. And so today we have wealth of a whole bunch of things, resources that historically, yeah. And so we're going to have wealth of resources, things that we think are valuable today, that in the future are just not that valuable. You know, and so because it's automated. And so I think the question maybe partly it's hard to answer, partly because it's hard to talk about infinity and it's hard to talk about a long time from now. And the reason for that is because there's just too many scenarios to consider. But I think in the next several years, call it 5 to 10 years, there's several things that I believe in hope. And I say hope because I'm not sure. One of the things that I believe is that the technology divide will be substantially collapsed. And of course, the alternative viewpoint is that AI is going to increase the technology divide. Now, the reason why I believe AI is going to reduce the technology divide is because we have proof. The evidence is that AI is the easiest application in the world to use. ChatGPT has grown to almost 1 billion users, frankly, practically overnight. And if you're not exactly sure how to use, everybody knows how to use ChatGPT, just say something to it. If you're not sure how to use ChatGPT, you ask ChatGPT how to use it. No tool in history has ever had this capability. A Cuisinart, you know, if you don't know how to use it, you're kind of screwed. You're not walk up to it and say, how do you use Cuisinart? You're gonna have to find somebody else. And so, but an AI will just tell you exactly how to do it. Anybody could do this. They'll speak to you in any language. And if it doesn't know your language, you'll speak it in that language, and it'll probably figure out that it doesn't completely understand your language. It learns it instantly and comes back and talks to you. And so I think the technology divide has a real chance finally, that you don't have to speak Python or C++ or Fortran. You can just speak human, and whatever form of human you like. And so I think that has a real chance of closing the technology divide. Now, of course, the counter narrative would say that AI is only going to be available for the nations and the countries that have a vast amount of resources, because AI takes energy, and AI takes a lot of GPUs and factories to be able to produce the AI. No doubt at the scale that we would like to do in the United States. But the fact of the matter is, your phone's going to run AI just fine, all by itself, you know, in a few years. Today, it already does it fairly decently. And so the fact that every country, every nation, every society will have the benefit of very good AI. It might not be tomorrow's AI, it might be yesterday's AI, but yesterday's AI is freaking amazing. You know, in 10 years' time, 9-year-old AI is going to be amazing. You don't need 10-year-old AI. You don't need frontier AI like we need frontier AI, because we want to be the world leader. But for every single country, everybody, I think the capability to elevate everybody's knowledge and capability and intelligence, that day is coming.
The Octagon isn't just in Las Vegas anymore. It's right in your hands with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Get ready, because when Dwabishvili and Jan face off again at UFC 323, every punch, every takedown, every finish, it all has the potential to pay off in real time. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get paid $200 in bonus bets. And hey, Missouri, the wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Rogan. That's code Rogan to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPEN-Y or text HOPEN-Y 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass through per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
And also energy production, which is the real bottleneck when it comes to third world countries, and
that's right,
electricity and all the resources that we take for granted.
Almost everything is going to be energy constrained. And so if you take a look at one of the most important technology advances in history is this idea called Moore's Law. Moore's Law was started basically in my generation. And my generation was the generation of computers. I graduated in 1984, and that was basically at the very beginning of the PC revolution and the microprocessor. And every single year, it approximately doubled. And we describe it as every single year we doubled performance. But what it really means is that every single year, the cost of computing halved. And so the cost of computing in a course of 5 years reduced by a factor of 10. The amount of energy necessary to do computing, to do any task, reduced by a factor of 10. Every single 10 years, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, so on and so forth. And so each one of the clicks of Moore's law, the amount of energy necessary to do any computing reduced. That's the reason why you have a laptop today, when back in 1984, it sat on the desk, you got to plug it in, it wasn't that fast, and it consumed a lot of power. Today, you know, there's only a few watts. And so Moore's law is the fundamental technology trend that made it possible. Well, what's going on in AI? The reason why NVIDIA is here is because we invented this new way of doing computing we call accelerated computing. We started it 33 years ago. It took us about 30 years to really made a huge breakthrough. In that 30 years or so, we took computing, you know, probably a factor of, well, let me just say like last 10 years. The last 10 years, we improved the performance of computing by 100,000 times.
Whoa.
Imagine a car over the course of 10 years, it became 100,000 times faster. Or at the same speed, 100,000 times cheaper. Or at the same speed, 100,000 times less energy. If your car did that, it doesn't need energy at all. What I'm trying to say is that in 10 years' time, the amount of energy necessary for artificial intelligence for most people will be minuscule, utterly minuscule. And so we'll have AI running on all kinds of things and all the time because it doesn't consume that much energy. And so if you're a nation that uses AI for, you know, almost everything in your social fabric, of course you're going to need these AI factories. But for a lot of countries, I think you're going to have excellent AI, and you're not going to need as much energy. Everybody will be able to come along. Is my point.
So currently, that is a big bottleneck, right? Is energy?
Yeah, it is the bottleneck.
The bottleneck.
Yeah.
Is this so? Was it Google that is making nuclear power plants to operate one of its AI factories?
Oh, I haven't heard that, but I think in the next 6-7 years, I think you're going to see a whole bunch of small nuclear reactors.
And by small, like how big are you talking about?
Hundreds of megawatts. Yeah.
Okay. And that these will be local, the two whatever specific company they have.
That's right. We'll all be power generators.
Whoa.
You know, just like your, you know, somebody's farm.
It probably is the smartest way to do it, right?
And it takes the burden off. Yeah, it takes the burden off the grid. It takes. And you can build as much as you need. And you can contribute back to the grid.
It's a really important point that I think you just made about Moore's law and the relationship to pricing. Because, you know, a laptop today, like you can get one of those little MacBook Airs, they're incredible. They're so thin, unbelievably powerful. Battery life.
You never have to charge it.
Yeah, battery life crazy, and it's not that expensive, relatively speaking. Like something like that. I remember,
and that's just Moore's law.
Right.
Then there's the NVIDIA law.
Oh.
Just right, the law I was talking to you about, the computing that we invented.
Right.
The reason why we're here, this new way of doing computing, is like Moore's law on energy drinks. I mean, it's it's like Moore's law. it's like Moore's law and Joe Rogan.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's us.
So explain that. This chip that you brought to Elon. Yeah. What's the significance of this? Like, why is it so superior?
And so, in 2012, Jeff Hinton's lab, this gentleman I was talking about, Ilya Sutskever, Alex Krashevsky, they made a breakthrough in computer vision, in literally creating a piece of software called AlexNet, and its job was to recognize images, and it recognized images at a level of computer vision, which is fundamental to intelligence. If you can't perceive, it's hard to have intelligence. And so computer vision is a fundamental pillar of, not the only, but fundamental pillar of. And so breaking computer vision, we're breaking through in computer vision, is pretty foundational to almost everything that everybody wants to do in AI. And so in 2012, their lab in Toronto made this breakthrough called AlexNet. And AlexNet was able to recognize images so much better than any human-created computer vision algorithm in the 30 years prior. So all of these people, all these scientists, and we had many too, working on computer vision algorithms. And these two kids, Ilya and Alex, under Jeff Hinton, took a giant leap above it. And it was based on this thing called AlexNet, this neural network. And the way it ran, the way they made it work was literally buying 2 NVIDIA graphics cards. Because NVIDIA's GPUs, we've been working on this new way of doing computing. And our GPUs application, and it's basically a supercomputing application back in 1984, in order to process computer games and what you have in your racing simulator, that is called an image generator supercomputer. And so NVIDIA started, our first application was computer graphics. And we applied this new way of doing computing where we do things in parallel instead of sequentially. A CPU does things sequentially. Step 1, step 2, step 3. In our case, we break the problem down and we give it to thousands of processors. And so our way of doing computation is much more complicated, but if you're able to formulate the problem in the way that we created called CUDA. This is the invention of our company. If you could formulate it in that way, we could process everything simultaneously. Now, in the case of computer graphics, it's easier to do because every single pixel on your screen is not related to every other pixel. And so I could render multiple parts of the screen at the same time. Not completely true, because maybe the way lighting works or the way shadow works, there's a lot of dependency and such. But computer graphics, with all the pixels, I should be able to process everything simultaneously. And so we took this embarrassingly parallel problem called computer graphics, and we applied it to this new way of doing computing, NVIDIA's accelerated computing. We put it in all of our graphics cards. Kids were buying it to play games. You probably don't know this, but we're the largest gaming platform in the world today.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, okay.
I used to make my own computers. I used to buy your graphics cards.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set up SLI with your graphics
Oh, yeah, I
cards.
love it. Okay, that's super cool.
Oh, yeah, man. I used to be a Quake junkie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so SLI, I'll tell you the story in just a second, and how it led to Elon. I'm still answering the question. So anyways, these two kids trained this model using the technique I described earlier on our GPUs, because our GPUs could process things in parallel. It's essentially a supercomputer in a PC. The reason why you used it for Quake is because it is the first consumer supercomputer. Okay, and so anyways, they made that breakthrough. We were working on computer vision at the time. It caught my attention, and so we went to learn about it. Simultaneously, this deep learning phenomenon was happening all over the country. Universities after another recognized the importance of deep learning, and all of this work was happening at Stanford, at Harvard, at Berkeley, just all over the place. New York University, Yann LeCun, Andrew Yang at Stanford, so many different places. And I see it cropping up everywhere. And so my curiosity asked, what is so special about this form of machine learning? And we've known about machine learning for a very long time. We've known about AI for a very long time. We've known about neural networks for a very long time. What makes now the moment? And so we realized that this architecture for deep neural networks, backpropagation, the way deep neural networks were created, we could probably scale this problem, scale the solution to solve many problems. That is essentially a universal function approximator. Okay, meaning, back when you're in school, you have a box. Inside of it is a function. You give it an input, it gives you an output. And the reason why I call it universal function approximator is that this computer, instead of you describing the function, a function could be a Newton's equation, F equals ma. That's a function. You write the function in software. You give it input F, mass, acceleration. It'll tell you the force. Okay, and the way this computer works is really interesting. You give it a universal function. It's not F equals ma, it's just a universal function. It's a big, huge, deep neural network. And instead of describing the inside, you give it examples of input and output, and it figures out the inside. So you give it input and output, and it figures out the inside. A universal function approximator. Today, it could be Newton's equation. Tomorrow, it could be Maxwell's equation. It could be Coulomb's law. It could be thermodynamics equation. It could be, Schrodinger's equation for quantum physics. And so you could have this describe almost anything, so long as you have the input and the output. So long as you have the input and the output, or it could learn the input and output. And so we took a step back and we said, hang on a second, this isn't just for computer vision. Deep learning could solve any problem, all the problems that are interesting, so long as we have input and output. Now, what has input and output? Well, the world. The world has input and output. And so we could have a computer that could learn almost anything, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And so we reasoned that maybe this is the fundamental breakthrough that we needed. There were a couple of things that had to be solved. For example, we had to believe that you could actually scale this up to giant systems. It was running they had two graphics cards, two GTX 580s, which, by the way, is exactly your SLI configuration.
Yeah.
Okay. So that GTX 580 SLI was the revolutionary computer that put deep learning on the map.
Wow.
It was 2018, and you were using it to play Quake.
Wow, that's crazy.
That was the moment. That was the big bang of modern AI. We were lucky because we were inventing this technology, this computing approach. We were lucky that they found it. Turns out they were gamers, and it was lucky they found it. And it was lucky that we paid attention to that moment. It was a little bit like, that Star Trek, First Contact. The Vulcans had to have seen the warp drive at that very moment. If they didn't witness the warp drive, they would have never come to Earth, and everything would have never happened. It's a little like if I hadn't paid attention to that moment, that flash, and that flash didn't last long. If I hadn't paid attention to that flash, or our company didn't pay attention to it, who knows what happened? But we saw that, and we reasoned our way into this is a
Life has created. Oh, you didn't create the treasure box.
We could use this for all kinds of things if we could solve two problems. The first problem is that we had to prove to ourselves it could scale. The second problem we had to wait for, contribute to and wait for, is the world will never have enough data on input and output where we could supervise the AI to learn everything. For example, if we had to supervise our children on everything they learn, the amount of information they learn is limited. We needed the AI, we needed the computer to have a method of learning without supervision. And that's where we had to wait a few more years, but unsupervised AI learning is now here, and so the AI could learn by itself. And And the reason why the AI can learn by itself is because we have many examples of right answers. Like for example, if I want to teach an AI how to predict the next word, I could just grab a whole bunch of text that we already have, mask out the last word, and make it try again until it predicts the next one. Or I mask out random words inside the text, and I make it try until it predicts it. You know, like Mary goes down to the bank. Is it a river bank or a money bank? Well, if you're going to go down to the bank, it's probably a river bank. Okay, so and it might not be obvious even from that. It might need and caught a fish. Okay, now you know it must be the riverbank. And so you give these AIs a whole bunch of these examples, and you mask out the words, it'll predict the next one. Okay, and so unsupervised learning came along. These two ideas, the fact that it's scalable and unsupervised learning came along, we were convinced that we had to put everything into this and help create this industry because we're going to solve a whole bunch of interesting problems. And that was in 2012. By 2016, I had built this computer called the DGX-1. The one that you saw me give to Elon is called DGX Spark. The DGX-1 was $300,000. It cost NVIDIA a few $1 billion to make the first one. And instead of 2 chips SLI, we connected 8 chips with a technology called NVLink, but it's basically SLI supercharged. Okay? And so we connected 8 of these chips together instead of just 2. And all of them work together, just like your Quake rig did, to solve this deep learning problem, to train this model. And so we created this thing. I announced it at GTC and at one of our annual events. And I described this deep learning thing, computer vision thing, and this computer called DGX-1. The audience was like completely silent. They had no idea what I was talking about. And I was lucky because I'd known Elon, and I helped him build the first computer for Model 3.
Wow.
The Model S. And when he wanted to
interest by region,
I helped him build the computer that went into the Model S AV system, his full self-driving system. We were basically the FSD computer version 1. And so we're already working together. And when I announced this thing, nobody in the world wanted it. I had no purchase orders, not one. Nobody wanted to buy it. Nobody wanted to be part of it, except for Elon. He was at the event, and we were doing a fireside chat about the future of self-driving cars. I think it's like 2016. Yeah, at that time it was 2015. And he goes, you know what? I have a company that could really use this. And I said, wow, my first customer. And so I was pretty excited about it. And he goes, we have this company. It's a non-profit company. And all the blood drained out of my face. Yeah, I just spent a few $1 billion building this thing. It cost $300,000, and the chances of a non-profit being able to pay for this thing is approximately 0. And he goes, this is it's an AI company, and it's a non-profit, and we could really use one of these supercomputers. And so I picked it up. I built the first one for ourselves. We're using it inside the company. I boxed one up. I drove it up to San Francisco, and I delivered it to Elon in 2016. A bunch of researchers were there. Peter Beal was there. Ilya was there. There was a bunch of people there, and I walk up to the second floor where they were all kind of in a room, this smaller than your place here, and that place turned out to have been OpenAI.
Wow.
2016. Wow. Just a bunch of people sitting in a room.
It's not really non-profit anymore, though, is it?
They're not non-profit anymore. Yeah.
Weird how that works.
Yeah. But anyhow, Elon was there. It was really a great moment. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Did you borrow the same jacket?
Look at that. I haven't aged. Not a lick of black hair though.
The size of it is it's significantly smaller. That was the other day.
Okay, so yeah, there you go.
Yeah, look at the difference. That's
exactly
crazy.
The same industrial design.
He's holding it in his hand.
Here's the amazing thing. DGX-1 was 1 petaflops. Okay, that's a lot of flops. And DGX Spark is 1 petaflops. 9 years later.
Wow.
The same amount of computing horsepower.
In a much smaller.
Shrunken down.
Yeah.
And instead of $300,000, it's now $4,000.
Wow.
That's the size of a small book.
Incredible.
Crazy.
That's how technology moves. Anyways, that's the reason why I want to give him the first one. Because I gave him the first one in 2016.
It's so fascinating. I mean, if you wanted to make a story for a film, I mean, that would be the story that, like, what better scenario, if it really does become a digital life form, how funny would it be that it is birthed out of the desire for computer graphics for video games?
Exactly.
Isn't it kind of crazy? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy when you think about it that way. Because
it just turns out
origin story.
Computer graphics was one of the hardest supercomputer problems. Generating reality.
And also one of the most profitable to solve because computer games are so popular.
When NVIDIA started in 1993, we were trying to create this new computing approach. The question is, what's the killer app? And the problem the company wanted to create a new type of computing architecture, a new type of computer that can solve problems that normal computers can't solve. Well, the applications that existed in the industry in 1993 are applications that normal computers can solve, because if the normal computers can't solve them, why would the application exist? And so we had a mission statement for a company that has no chance of success. But I didn't know that in 1993. It just sounded like a good idea.
Right.
And so if we created this thing that can solve problems, you know, it's like you actually have to go create the problem. And so that's what we did. In 1993, there was no Quake. John Carmack hadn't even released Doom yet. You probably remember that.
Sure. Yeah.
And there were no applications for it. And so I went to Japan because the arcade industry had this, at the time of Sega, if you remember.
Sure.
The arcade machines, they came up with 3D arcade systems. Virtua Fighter, Daytona, Virtua Cop. All of those arcade games were in 3D for the very first time. And the technology they were using was from Martin Marietta. The flight simulators, they took the guts out of a flight simulator and then put it into an arcade machine. The system that you have over here, it's got to be 1 million times more powerful than that arcade machine. And that was a flight simulator for NASA.
Whoa.
And so they took the guts out of that. They were using it for flight simulation with jets and, you know, space shuttle. And they took the guts out of that. And Sega had this brilliant computer developer. His name was Yu Suzuki. Yu Suzuki and Miyamoto, Sega and Nintendo, these were the incredible pioneers, the visionaries, the incredible artists, and they're both very, very technical. They were the origins, really, of the gaming industry. And Yu Suzuki pioneered 3D graphics gaming. And so we created this company, and there were no apps. And we were spending all of our afternoons, you know, we told our family we were going to work, but it was just the three of us, you know, who's going to know. And so we went to Curtis's, one of the founders, went to Curtis's townhouse. And Chris and I were married, we have kids. I already had Spencer and Madison. They were probably 2 years old. And Chris's kids are about the same age as ours. And we would go to work in this townhouse. But, you know, when you're a startup, and the mission statement is the way we describe, you're not going to have too many customers calling you. And so we had really nothing to do. And so after lunch, we would always have a great lunch. After lunch, we would go to the arcades and play the Sega Virtua Fighter and Daytona and all those games, and analyze how they're doing it, try to figure out how they were doing that. And so we decided, let's just go to Japan and let's convince Sega to move those applications into the PC. And we would start the PC gaming, the 3D gaming industry, partnering with Sega. That's how NVIDIA started.
Wow.
And so in exchange for them developing their games for our computers in the PC, we would build a chip for their game console. That was the partnership. I build a chip for your game console, you port the Sega games to us, and then they paid us at the time quite a significant amount of money to build that game console. And that was kind of the beginning of NVIDIA getting started. And we thought we were on our way. And so I started with a business plan mission statement that was possible. We lucked into the Sega partnership. We started taking off, started building our game console. And about a couple years into it, we discovered our first technology didn't work. It would have been a flaw. It was a flaw. And all of the technology ideas that we had, the architecture concepts were sound, but the way we were doing computer graphics was exactly backwards. You know, instead of, I won't bore you with the technology, but instead of inverse texture mapping, we were doing forward texture mapping. Instead of triangles, we did curved surfaces. So other people did it flat, we did it round. Other technology, the technology that ultimately won, the technology we use today, has Z buffers. It automatically sorted. We had an architecture with no Z buffers. The application had to sort it. And so we chose a bunch of technology approaches that 3 major technology choices, all 3 choices were wrong. Okay, so this is how incredibly smart we were. And so, and so in 1995, mid-95, we realized we were going down the wrong path. Meanwhile, the Silicon Valley was packed with 3D graphic startups because it was the most exciting technology at that time. And so 3D effects and rendition and Silicon Graphics was coming in. Intel was already in there. And, you know, gosh, what added up eventually to 100 different startups we had to compete against. Everybody had chosen the right technology approach, and we chose the wrong one. And so we were the first company to start. We found ourselves essentially dead last with the wrong answer. And so the company was in trouble. And ultimately, we had to make several decisions. The first decision is, well, if we change now, we will be the last company. And even if we changed into the technology that we believe to be right, we'd still be dead. And so that argument, you know, do we change and therefore be dead? Don't change and make this technology work somehow? Or go do something completely different? That question stirred the company strategically and was a hard question. I eventually, you know, advocated for it. We don't know what the right strategy is, but we know what the wrong technology is. So let's stop doing it the wrong way, and let's give ourselves a chance.
Let me check.
Hello,
Retro Tag 2. Why is this so popular?
today's video, I finally located the very rare 24-pack booster box of Retro. 24-pack booster box when they first reprinted it last year, but they were still a little bit limited, and weirdly so. I still don't understand why they do the sort of limited release to the stores. It feels like the store should get a good allocation of this versus the mini boxes. I know there's a ton. A Champion Pack 5. What? If you buy something from me on your first, they come to video, so if you guys missed that long stream, you don't have to go back and watch all 10 hours to see everything. I'm going to cut out certain things and make them full videos because I think you guys will enjoy seeing them. We opened like every 2003-10 during that stream. We opened Twilight Edition Light and Dark. It's another super rare. I want to see what the ratio ends up being. Like, are we going to get 12 foils? Are we going to get 6 foils? Are we going to get 18? I don't know. I think, was it Cardbreaker that opened? I think it was Cardbreaker GT that opened a full box of holos. So you guys can go check out his video there on his channel. Where I think, wow, that is... What is this, 240p? I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell, but that card, the resolution on that card looks like you just printed it on a regular printer. That looks horrible. Wow, and you can really tell next to that. You might not be able to tell through the camera. It kind of makes it look better, but wow, it almost makes it hurt, my head hurt a little bit looking at that. Trying to decipher what's going on, Yamada Dragon. Yeah, this Retro Pack 2, I don't know if they have the errors, like the good errors and like multiple secrets, but they definitely have the bad, because I'm still searching for certain secrets for my binder, so I don't have all the secrets. But I'm probably going to try to put together some sets like that, so that you guys can grab tonight on whatnot. So yeah, I feel like that's a cool like option to have, like every super, every ultra, etc. Kind of like we do with Bonanza and Stampede, but a much lesser scale. Not 100 cards. It's only like 8 or 10. Dark Room Nightmare and Masked Beast, another super. So yeah, I don't know how many full sets I have. With supers, I'll probably have. Which can you go for? Oh man, all right, it's a cool secret rare. Valkyria? The Magna Warrior. He's not a Magna, he's a Magna Warrior. And the unfortunate part with this is, I already got this guy. Oh man. Sorry, I'm reading because I can't remember. That's called being old. That was a nice idol. Parasite, Spirit Message in. Spirit Message A, Gravekeeper's Chief. Bottomless Trap Hole. Guys, you see what I'm seeing? You guys see a little bit of foil bleed at the bottom of this? Is this going to be the card we're searching for? Okay. It's an effect monster, so it could be Shiny Dragon. Valkyria? The Magna Warrior! He's not a Magna, he's a Magna Warrior. And the unfortunate part with this is, I already got this guy. Oh man, alright, it's a cool secret rare. I'm glad to get a secret. By the way, I should mention these booster boxes are not cheap. They're not as expensive as the Retro by 1 were. I think they're, last I checked, they're around $120. I paid more than that because I ordered for these on Walmart.com and they popped up at some point. Paid taxes, paid all the shipping. I ended up paying a ton of money. I have 2 other boxes, but I don't know. Like, I was gonna put them up on my website, but then I'm like, I'm just losing money if I sell them because they're cheaper than when I got them. So then I'm like, maybe I'll just open them at some point. Try to complete the set. Because having a secret guaranteed is kind of nice, if that's the case. We'll see if we pull another one. That would be... I'm hoping we do. I'm hoping we get a second secret rare, because only one secret is kind of going around 24 packs, though it's actually probably better than doing mini boxes. But sometimes in mini boxes, you get multiple. Like the guy I told you about the other day, who pulled 2 blue... It just looks amazing on Genzo. Yeah, boxes. No ratios. Appropriate. Let's see what else we get. Pre-mat. It's nicked at the top. Azure Priest. Creature Swap. By the way, if you didn't see the Retro Pack 2, then we duel, you're going to want to check that out. That was actually pretty fun. Genzo, speaking of awesome cards. The Hollow Ultra just looks amazing on Genzo. It actually fits him perfectly. That green is so beautiful. Now, green is my favorite color, and as you guys know, I love the zero real quick. I don't have the audio on, so you got phone audio right now. I got to update all these sleeves with the updated purple sleeves. I think it looks pretty cool. Lighting's kind of weird right now, so you can't really see. Cool, if you guys grab them there, they use them and just fall apart. Very cool to see him over 6 years. They use them and just fall apart. So, very cool. I'm probably going to start... you know what? I'll just start now. I'll just start right now. These are garbage. You can hardly use them and just fall apart. So, very cool website, and on his website, sleeves. Use the... Let's Archfiend of Guildford, let's go! I'm also gonna... Zero real quick. How do we not have magic? We gotta get magic. Archfiend of Guildford, let's go! Alright, there we go. The Archfiend of Guildford. That's a card that I need. Let's go. Add it to the bind. That puts us down to 4 only. How do we not have magical ads? How do we not have magic?
Which is absurd, but not the amount, right? It could be 0, it could be $1 zillion. I think that's very personal. But for me,
a chance to go figure out what the strategy is. The second problem we had was our company was running out of money, and I was in a contract with Sega, and I owed them this game console. And if that contract would have been canceled, we'd be dead. We would have vaporized instantly. Whew. And so I went to Japan and I explained to the CEO of Sega, Iri Matsuri, really great man. He was the former CEO of Honda USA, went back to Sega to run Sega, went back to Japan to run Sega. And I explained to him that I was, I guess I was what, 33 years old? When I was 33 years old, I still had acne. And I got this Chinese kid, I was super skinny. And he was already kind of elder. And I went to him and I said, listen, I've got some bad news for you. And first, the technology that we promised you doesn't work. And second, we shouldn't finish your contract because we'd waste all your money and you would have something that doesn't work. And I recommend you find another partner to build your game console.
Whoa.
And so I'm terribly sorry that we've set you back in your product roadmap. And third, even though I'm asking you to let me out of the contract, I still need the money. because if you didn't give me the money, we'd vaporize overnight. And so I explained it to him humbly, honestly, gave him the background, explained to him why the technology doesn't work, why we thought it was going to work, why it doesn't work. And I asked him to convert the last $5 million that they were going to complete the contract to give us that money as an investment instead. And he said, but it's very likely your company will go out of business, even with my investment. And it was completely true. Back then, 1995, $5 million was a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. $5 million was a lot of money. And here's a pile of competitors doing it right. What are the chances that giving NVIDIA $5 million, that we would develop the right strategy, that he would get a return on that $5 million or even get it back? 0%. You do the math, it's 0%. If I were sitting there right there, I would have done it. $5 million was an amount of money to say at the time. And so I told him that if you invested that $5 million in us, it is most likely to be lost. But if you did invest that money, we'd be out of business and we would have no chance. And I told him that I don't even know exactly what I said in the end, but I told him that I would understand if he decided not to, but it would make the world to me if he did. He went off and thought about it for a couple of days and came back and said, we'll do it.
Wow. Did you have a strategy as to how to correct what it was doing wrong? Did you explain that to him?
Oh man, wait until I tell you the rest of it. It's scary, even scarier.
Oh no.
And so what he decided was Jensen was a young man he liked. That's it.
Wow.
To this day.
That's nuts. Boy, but the world owes that guy.
No doubt.
Right?
Like, he's celebrated today in Japan. And if he would have kept that the investment, I think it'd be worth probably about $1 trillion today. I know. But the moment we went public, they sold it. They goes, wow, that's a miracle. And so they sold it. Yeah, they sold it at NVIDIA valuation about $300 million. That's our IPO valuation, $300 million.
Wow.
And so anyhow, I was incredibly grateful. And then now we have to figure out what to do, because we still were doing the wrong strategy, wrong technology. So unfortunately, we had to lay off most of the company. We shrunk the company all back. All the people working on the game console, we had to shrink it all back. And then somebody told me that, but Jensen, we've never built it this way before. We've never built it the right way before. We've only known how to build it the wrong way. And so nobody in the company knew how to build this supercomputing image generator 3D graphics thing that Silicon Graphics did. And so I said, okay, how hard can it be? You got all these 30 companies, 50 companies doing it. How hard can it be? And so luckily, there was a textbook written by the company Silicon Graphics. And so I went down to the store. I had $200 in my pocket, and I bought 3 textbooks, the only 3 they have, $60 a piece. I bought the 3 textbooks. I brought it back and I gave one to each one of the architects, and I said, read that and let's go save the company. And so they read this textbook, learned from the giant at the time, Silicon Graphics, about how to do 3D graphics. But the thing that was amazing, and what makes NVIDIA special today, is that the people that are there are able to start from first principles, learn best known art, but re-implement it in a way that's never been done before. And so when we reimagine the technology of 3D graphics, we reimagined it in a way that manifests today, the modern 3D graphics. We really invented modern 3D graphics, but we learned from previous known arts, and we implement it fundamentally differently.
What did you do that changed it?
Well, ultimately, the simple answer is that the way Silicon Graphics works, the geometry engine is a bunch of software running on processors. We took that and eliminated all the generality, the general purposeness of it, and we reduced it down into the most essential part of 3D graphics, and we hard-coded it into the chip. And so instead of something general purpose, we hard-coded it very specifically into just the limited applications, limited functionality necessary for video games. And that capability, and because we reinvented a whole bunch of stuff, it supercharged the capability of that one little chip. And our one little chip was generating images as fast as a $1 million image generator. That was the big breakthrough. We took $1 million thing and we put it into the graphics card that you now put into your gaming PC. And that was our big invention. And of course the question is how do you compete against these 30 other companies doing what they were doing? And there we did several things. One, instead of building a 3D graphics chip for every 3D graphics application. We decided to build a 3D graphics chip for one application. We bet the farm on video games. The needs of video games are very different than the needs for CAD, needs for flight simulators. They're related but not the same. And so we narrowly focused our problem statement so I could reject all of the other complexities, and we shrunk it down into this one little focus, and then we supercharged it for gamers. And the second thing that we did was we created a whole ecosystem of working with game developers and getting their games ported and adapted to our silicon so that we could turn essentially what is a technology business into a platform business, into a game platform business. So GeForce is really, today it's also the most advanced 3D graphics technology in the world, but a long time ago, GeForce is really the game console inside your PC. It's, it runs Windows, it runs Excel, it runs PowerPoint, of course, those are easy things, but its fundamental purpose was simply to turn your PC into a game console. So we were the first technology company to build all of this incredible technology in service of one audience, gamers. Now, of course, in 1993, the gaming industry didn't exist. But by the time that John Carmack came along,
看卡片，
Doom happened, and then Quake came
你干啥？
As you
你
know,
干啥？你干
that
啥？
entire
你是哪里
the
人？
entire community, boom, took off.
Do you know where the name Doom came from? It came from there's a scene in the movie The Color of Money where Tom Cruise, who's this elite pool player, shows up at this pool hall. And
你
this
是
local
哪
hustler
里
says, "What do you got in the
人？
case?"
哪
And he
里？
opens up this case. He has a special pool cue. He goes in here, and he opens it up. He goes Doom.
Doom.
你是属于
That's
你
what
屁股
Carmack
真
said,
臭，
that's
一
what
点
they
都不
wanted to do
香
with the。gaming industry.
Doom.
That when Doom came out, it would just be everybody be like, "Oh, we're fucked.
Oh, wow.
This is Doom."
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Because it's
yeah.
the perfect name for the game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the name came out of that scene in that movie.
是
That's
屁股屁
Well, and then,
股
of course,
屁股
Tim
屁股
Sweeney
新人。
Epic Games and the 3D gaming genre took off.
Yes.
And so it just kind of
你是
in the
屁
beginning
股
with no
新
gaming
新
industry,
人。
we had no choice but to focus the company on one thing. That one thing.
It's a really incredible origin story. It's amazing. Like you must like look
Started
back.
a disaster. Is
That
what
$5 million, that pivot, with that conversation with that gentleman, if he did not
屁
agree
股
to that, if he
新，
did not
那
like
那
you,
中国人
what
怎
would
么
the
说？
world look
屁
like
股
today? It's
star，
Oh wait, then
屁股
our
新
entire
人
life。 hung on another gentleman. And so now, here we are. We built. So before GeForce was Reva 128. Reva 128 saved the company. It revolutionized computer graphics. The performance, cost-performance ratio of 3D graphics for gaming was off the charts amazing. And
你在睡觉，你在睡觉，
we're getting ready to ship it.
你在睡。
We're building it, but we're so as you know, $5 million didn't last long, and so every single month, we were drawing down. You have to build it, prototype it. You have to design it, prototype it, get the silicon back, which costs a lot of money. Test it with software, because without the software testing the chip, you don't know the chip works. And then you're gonna find a bug, probably, because every time you test something, you find bugs. Which means you have to tape it out again, which is more time, more money. And so we did the math. There was no chance NVIDIA was going to survive it. We didn't have that much time to tape out a chip, send it to a foundry, TSMC, get the silicon back, test it, send it back out again. There was no shot, no hope. And so the math, the spreadsheet doesn't allow us to do that. And so I heard about this company, and this company built this machine. And this machine is an emulator. You could take your design, all of the software that describes the chip, and you could put it into this machine, and this machine will pretend it's our chip. So I don't have to send it to the fab, wait until the fab sends it back, test. I could have this machine pretend it's our chip, and I could put all of the software on top of this machine called an emulator, and test all of the software on this pretend chip, and I could fix it all before I send it to the fab. And if I could do that, when I send it to the fab, it should work. Nobody knows, but it should work. And so we came to the conclusion that let's take half of the money we had left in the bank. At the time, it was about $1 million. Take half of that money and go buy this machine. So instead of keeping the money to stay alive, I took half of the money to go buy this machine. Well, I called this guy up. This guy, the company's called ICOS. Called this company up and I said, hey, listen, I heard about this machine. I'd like to buy one. And they go, oh, that's terrific, but we're out of business. I said, what? You're out of business? He goes, yeah, we have no customers. I said, wait, hang on a second, so you never made the machine? They said, no, we made the machine. We have one in inventory if you want it, but we're out of business. So I bought one out of inventory. Okay? After I bought it, they went out of business. Wow. I bought it out of inventory, and on this machine, we put NVIDIA's chip into it, and we tested all of the software on top. And at this point, we were on fumes. But we convinced ourselves that chip is going to be great. And so I had to call some other gentleman. So I called TSMC. And I told TSMC that, listen, TSMC is the world's largest foundry today. At the time, they were just a few $100 million large. Tiny little company. And I explained to them what we were doing. And I explained to them, I told them I had a lot of customers. I had one, Diamond Multimedia. probably one of the companies you bought the graphics card from back in the old days. And I said, we have a lot of customers and the demand's really great. And we're going to tape out a chip to you. And I like to go directly to production because I know it works. And they said, nobody has ever done that before. Nobody has ever taped out a chip that worked the first time. And nobody starts out production without looking at it. But I knew that if I did start production, I'd be out of business anyways. And if I could start production, I might have a chance. And so TSMC decided to support me. And this gentleman is named Morris Chang. Morris Chang is the father of the foundry industry, the founder of TSMC. Really great man. He decided to support our company. I explained to them everything. He decided to support us, frankly, probably because they didn't have that many other customers anyhow. But they were grateful, and I was immensely grateful. And as we were starting the production, Morris flew to the United States, and he didn't in so many words ask me so, but he asked me a whole lot of questions that was trying to tease out, do I have any money? But he didn't directly ask me that, you know? And so the truth is that we didn't have all the money, but we had a strong PO from the customer. And if it didn't work, some wafers would have been lost. I'm not exactly sure what would have happened, but we would have come short. It would have been rough. But they supported us with all of that risk involved. We launched this chip. Turns out to have been completely revolutionary. Knocked the ball out of the park. We became the fastest growing technology company in history to go from 0 to $1 billion.
Wow.
So wild that you didn't test the chip.
I know.
I'm getting goosebumps, man.
Afterwards, but you went into production already.
But by the way, that methodology that we developed to save the company is used throughout the world today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we changed the whole world's methodology of designing chips, the whole world's rhythm of designing chips. We changed everything.
How well did you sleep those days? It must have been so much stress.
You know, what is that feeling where the world just kind of feels like it's flying? You have this, what do you call that feeling? You can't stop the feeling that everything's moving super fast, and you're laying in bed, and the world just feels like, you feel deeply anxious, completely out of control. I've felt that probably a couple of times. It's during that time. Wow. Yeah, it was incredible.
What an incredible success story.
But I learned a lot. I learned several things. I learned how to develop strategies. I learned how to, and when our company learned how to develop strategies. What are winning strategies? We learned how to create a market. We created a modern 3D game market. We learned how, and so that exact same skill is how we created the modern AI market. It's exactly the same.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly the same skill, exactly the same blueprint. And we learned how to deal with crisis, how to stay calm, how to think through things systematically. We learned how to remove all waste in the company and work from first principles and doing only the things that are essential. Everything else is waste because we have no money for it. To live on fumes at all times. And the feeling, no different than the feeling I had this morning when I woke up, that you're going to be out of business soon. That the phrase 30 days from going out of business, I've used for 33 years.
You still feel that?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Every morning.
But you guys are one of the biggest companies on planet Earth.
But the feeling doesn't change.
Wow.
The sense of vulnerability, the sense of uncertainty, the sense of insecurity, it doesn't leave you.
That's crazy.
We had nothing.
说的感
We had
受
nothing. We were
And you
dealing with
still
giant.
feel that?
Oh yeah, every day, every moment.
Do you think that fuels you? Is that part of the reason why
小猫
the company's so
睡不
successful,
着
that you have that
笑
hungry
死了
mentality?
呃
But you never rest. You're never sitting on your laurels. You're always on the edge.
I have a greater drive from not wanting to fail than the drive of wanting to succeed.
Isn't that like success coaches would tell you that's completely the wrong psychology?
The world has just heard me say that out loud for the first time, but it's true.
Well, that's so
The
fascinating.
fear of failure drives me more than the greed or whatever it is.
Well, ultimately, that's probably a more healthy approach. Now that I'm thinking about it, because like the fear.
I'm not ambitious, for example. I just want to stay alive, Jim. I want the company to thrive. I want us to make an impact.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why you're so humble. Maybe that's what keeps you grounded. Because with the kind of spectacular success the company's achieved, it would be easy to get a big head.
No.
Right? But isn't
Yeah.
that interesting? It's
Yeah.
like if you were the guy that your main focus is just success, you probably would go, well, made it, nailed it, I'm the man. Instead, you wake up, you're like, we can't fuck this up.
No, exactly. Every morning, no, every moment.
That's crazy.
Before I go to bed.
Well, listen, if I was a major investor in your company, that's why I'd want running it. I'd want a guy who's
That's why
like
I work.
terrified.
Yeah. That's what I work. That's why I work 7 days a week. Every moment I'm awake.
You work every moment.
Every
of the
moment
week.
I'm awake.
Wow.
I'm thinking about solving a problem. I'm thinking about.
How long can you keep this up?
I don't know, but could be next week.
It's exhausting. It is exhausting. It sounds completely exhausting.
Always in a state of anxiety.
Wow.
Yeah, always in a state of anxiety.
Well, kudos to you for admitting that. I think that's important for a lot of people to hear because, you know, there's probably some young people out there that are in a similar position to where you were when you were starting out that just feel like, all those people that have made it, they're just smarter than me and they had more opportunities than me and it's just like it was handed to them or they're just in the right place at the right time.
And Joe, I just described to you somebody who didn't know what was going on. Actually did it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ultimate diving catch like 2 or 3 times.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The ultimate diving catch is the perfect way to put it. You know, it's just like the edge of your glove.
It probably bounced off of somebody's helmet and landed at the edge.
Retro Pack 2 reprints are an absolute disaster. And in the best possible way, in some ways, and not so good ways in others. Now, I know this, you're probably confused, like, where's the intro, where's the duel? Why do you sound like that? We're on Ruxin Live, my second channel, where we do live discussions about certain things going on, and occasionally some duels and stuff like that. Also, I'm a little under the weather. I got some, there's a lot of issues going on. Just print it, and so there's 108 different errors. It's gonna be like in every pack, there's gonna be some sort of error. So, if you guys saw this, you're followers of Cyber Knight, you might have seen this part. Let's check out this video real quick. I don't have my headphones in, it'll be fine. So, here we go. Here was Cyber Knight opening up a Retro Pack 2, and he's like, what? Old school set. 1 rare, 1 foil. That's it. 5 rares in 1 pack instead of 1 rare in 1 pack. Let's see if there's 6. I think that's a common. So there's 9 cards in a pack. Usually you get 1 rare, 8 commons, or 1 foil, 8 commons. A little rarer because of the foil pull rates. I pulled 20. In today's video, I'm going to Walmart to find the brand new Retro Pack 2 mini boxes. Hopefully they're actually there because I've tried all day, like every single day this week, and I saw them. A little bit of a buff, you could say, to our opening. All right, Nobleman of Crossout. I still have not pulled the Blue Eye Shining Dragon, so that's what we're going to be trying to do today. The secret rare. Where's my Shining Dragon? There it is. Before we get into it, let's just show off what we want to get. This is the original PSA 9 that we pulled several years ago. It was absolutely amazing. Such an amazing moment. And hopefully, setting this out will help us get it. So, Nobleman of Crossout. Also, I'm feeling a little allergies. I take allergy medicine, but I'm still feeling it in the drainage area, you know what I mean? Guardian, let's see. Yeah, I noticed some people also mention this. Besides the I have Anubis thing, which is like half my comments. The print on these, it looks kind of fakey. It's not fake, but it's like different. I don't know what it is. But especially Barrel Behind the Door specifically. I don't know what about that card, but for some reason it looks weird. The old source doesn't look as bad. And a Mage Power. Now, if you watched my video recently, go check out my Retro Pack 2 reprint videos from last week. We didn't get a lot of rares. Rares are actually pretty rare because a lot of time we're just pulling foils over and over and over. We had 20 foils out of 24 packs today. It was absolutely crazy. They doubled the pull rates in these, so you 4 packs today. It was absolutely. We had 20 foils out of 24 packs today. It was absolutely crazy. They doubled the pull rate. Absolutely crazy. They doubled the pull rates in these, so you will get more foils than an original opening, but that still felt pretty high. 4-star Lady Bug, we have Okay, what the heck is wrong with this card? Speaking of looking fake, look at that Gemini Elf! Look at the text on it, it's like gray. And look at the background. The background looks like, oh my gosh, this looks awful. This is one of the worst looking cards I've ever seen. Like, not the artwork, but just like the print. There's absolutely no 3D to it. It's completely flat. The Gemini Elf is gray. What happened to this card? That's crazy. Same thing here, Goblin Attack Force. I think they were running out of ink on this pack. That one's not as bad. That one looks kind of normal. These two have like gray text. The quality control in this pack is some of the worst I've ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's saying something. There's bad quality control. Half the commons are missing out of the Anubis. There's like crazy amount of foils being pulled. There's like packs with like 8 rares in them, or 4 rares and 4 supers. There's this. It's insane. Those two look significantly different. See that? Now compared to this Gravekeeper. Look at the text versus Gravekeeper. See how gray that is? There's almost no black ink right there. And the same goes for the entire artwork of the card, but those cards are crazy. That's definitely some sort of error, like, probably not in a good way, but I'm gonna pull that out. You'd think I'd always have sleeves, but somehow I've run out. All those collections have been taking up a lot of my sleeves. Okay, 2 packs left. Let's see what we can get. 2 packs on that mini box. We got 3 more after that. That's pretty good. So far, just super rares. Goblin Attack Force, Insect Invitation. See, that one looks kind of weird too. Gravekeeper Spy, a Legendary Ocean. Spirit Message A. These definitely have that weird, like, grimy feel to them. Not super bad, but they're there. Alpha, another rare. Another rare. So that's 2 foils out of 7 packs. Walmart! We spent almost $100. Give us something good. Tornado Wall. We don't make our money back with the original prices. That's not a good sign. Card of Safe Return. Lightning Blade. Optic So when I giant that serves the Dark Ruler Hades, it skewers its enemies with a sharp horn, shattering them to pieces. Dark Ruler Hades is an ultra in here. Reckless Greed.
The thing is you need to come up with a number, so you're not just using that excuse of, oh, it's just going to go to my kids when I die and they're 60, which is absurd. It's just an absurd thing. They're not kids then, right? Like more than 2/3 of their life has passed them by, right? And their ability to enjoy that money has declined, et cetera. You're giving money at the wrong time, and it's completely not thought out. It's not deliberate. It's random. It's silly. What you should do is figure out what you want to give them, and then spend all your money down to do that.
他这边说是猫猫，屁股猫猫。
It doesn't take the money. You do something stupid and you lose all your money. Their money is protected. It's separate. It's their money. Doesn't mean they get to go spend it when they're 19 or 20. It's in a trust and it turns over to them when it turns over to them, right? And if you don't have all the money made, you just put money in yearly until it gets there, right? If there's some uncertainty, right? There's ways to do it. But the whole book is about living off autopilot and being deliberate and thinking these things through. Not just be like, oh, when I die, my money will go to my kids, right? That worked when, a couple hundred years ago where you were a farmer, your kids were a farmer, the kids were going to be a farmer, et cetera, right? So like, you die, they do the same thing. He takes it from her. He's a blacksmith. My son's a blacksmith. They'll always be a blacksmith. We're the Smiths, right? Like that's not how it works nowadays, right? You don't just turn over the family enterprise and that's what they do.
Since you wrote the book, is there anything that has changed your perspective, or that you would change about the book if you had the power to snap your fingers and edit it?
No, I've never been like I've done. I think over 54 podcasts. I've done a couple talks. I don't like doing talks in the beginning. Like they want you to go around and do all talks. There's nothing where I've been stumped. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should change this. This principle. Like I think it's like very axiomatic. It's not like new. It's full life cycle hypothesis. Like laid out, right? Like, have you guys heard of that? It's essentially income smoothing, about like basically, taking from your richer self in the future and giving to you now, so that you have a more fulfilling life, etc. Two guys, I think they won a prize for it. So you can look it up. But
what is the life cycle hypothesis?
It's basically income smoothing. Like when you're in your poorer self right now, you should be going to somewhat in debt, okay? Because your income is going to grow and you're going to be able to extinguish it in order to get the experiences you want to have now.
So it's essentially what you are.
Yeah, like I didn't know about full life cycle hypothesis. I learned about it when I hired an economist when I wanted to make this program, and I was like, holy, it's like. To me, it was like a sign that like I am thinking about this life problem correctly, right? Like if people discover the laws of physics, right? They didn't invent them, right? Like you discover a truth, right? And so I discovered a truth. I think I have friends that are like, we want the 600-page version of this. We want like I didn't want to write like a cookbook, like do this, do that, do this, do that. Like it's modeled a lot on your money, your life, where there's like exercises at the end or like suggestions at the end. So there's a couple suggestions at the end. But whenever I go give a talk, they're like, I want the cookbook. You know what I mean? I want more examples of how to do this, right? I want more examples to how to spend my money or how to save. I want more examples of annuities and things and how they work. I want more examples of granted annuity trusts or ways to transfer your money. Like a 600-page version will give people like kind of like what to do, but I think most of the value is getting the concept, right? It's like just getting the concept, right? Once you get force equals mv squared, right? Then you do all kinds of wonderful things, right? Once you get E equals mc squared, you get satellites that get the timing right and all these other kind of things. So it's really about getting the formula right and the concepts right, and then people can apply them individually as they see fit.
So where do you invest your own money?
I am not an example. Like I tell these people, like
oil futures.
I'm not a role model. I think I can be an inspiration, right? I make way too many mistakes to be a role model. Like, do not live my life. You are. But I think I can be an inspiration. You know what I mean? I think I can be inspiring. And so, I take maximum risk, right? Like most of my money is either tied up in my fund, right, or the things I have. And I have a lot of private placements too. Like I probably have way too much money in venture capital and private placement, right? Like because now, like you said, like I'm a liquid. Like, what do I want to go here? I can't get it cash, right? And so that's generally where it is. And now I've actually put a needle scratch to all that because of my age. A lot of friends are like, oh yeah, and you're gonna make money in 10 years. I'm like 10 years. Yeah. I'm trying to have a party now.
So do you have this cash on the side that you're like, this is my money that I don't touch, that is there for a rainy day if I absolutely need it, just in case?
I used to. I don't. Because I have houses and assets that I can liquidate in a fire sale. And even if it's half, it's like I'm okay. Right? I'm quite okay and quite planning to have a lot less money. Not right now, but like if it happens, it happens. I'm not ego attached to it.
It seems like this has been something that has been you for decades, though. I mean, just to be able to trade.
Yes, like I've been trading
like that and take on that risk. I think your risk tolerance is probably 10 times higher than mine.
Yeah, it's very high. And one of the things people say, like, well, what would you say to somebody in their 20s or 30s? Like, what advice do you give them? I say, in every area of your life, take the most risk you can possibly stand, and then add a little bit more.
So I guess here's my philosophy. I feel like you can take a ton of risk when it comes to your time and career, but then when it comes to your money and investments, you play it safe there. And so that's like maybe a good balance where like, don't gung ho on like making as much money as you can, but then once you have it,
I would say take all that money and invest it in yourself. Go start the business that you have inside your head. That's the riskiest thing you could probably do, right? That's going to give you the most yield. That's the savings. But that's just me. Remember, that's just me. You can always go get a job, so you're not going to be broke. You will never be broke, and he will never be broke, because you can always go get a job. Some say, what's the safety for?
Do you have any advice for people who want to start their own business?
Make sure you're the type of guy that can be an entrepreneur and take the risk. I think a lot of people, it's romanticized a lot, and not everybody is cut out to do that. Maybe you're the guy that needs to get paid first, right? Not the entrepreneur that's dipping into his savings to pay the employees and do the vision, etc. That whole and like do your best. Like a lot of people think an idea is the thing, and it's actually the execution. And I'm sure you're very well aware of that, right? Like podcast sounds like a great idea, but people don't realize like how much work goes into editing, getting the thumbnails, getting the guests, coordinating with the guests, running around, dealing with sponsors, not being too commercial so people turn out. Like, there's so much that goes into making this podcast entertaining and running it as a business than just like, I got a great idea, right? And so make sure you're that type of person and that you can take that risk.
How do you know if you're that type of person?
Yeah, I mean, you can develop it. Like,
you know, are you the type of person that's okay going busto for a bit or having to go back to work? You know, I always like people like yourself that are like, you can easily get a 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000, $200,000 a year job. I'm like, you have no risk. There's no real financial risk. You only have ego risk. You know?
It seems like the common thread between everything you're saying is just being hyper intentional.
Yes.
About everything.
You got the book. You got the book. The book is about being intentional, living an intentional life. And there's a lot of other books out there that come at it from a different angle, right? They talk about different things about intentionality, being aware, being conscious, living a conscious life. But that is the whole book in a nutshell.
What have you learned from Dan Bilzerian?
I've learned that I don't want to be too famous. That's one of the reasons why I don't, like somebody's like, you should do TED Talk. I was like, no way will I do a TED Talk. I wanted to do a TED Talk originally, but like, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be too famous, right? Like, you want to be like Z-level famous. You get a nod, a little dopamine hit, you're legitimized, but like, you can be anonymous. Like, you can walk around. Like, 1 in 300 people recognize you, right?
What's the risk with being too famous?
For the life I want to lead, it robs you of your life. I would completely lose it because you cannot enjoy life. Like, you cannot, when you're famous, like, it's constant people coming up to you, wanting a picture, wanting to talk to you, trying to force a conversation to connect with you. So they're not bad people, right? But like, they get to see somebody's famous and they want to take a picture. Like, when else are they going to bump into you? And they want to have a conversation about somehow you're connected or how they know you. And you're robbed constantly. Like, you're in a bubble, you know, security, and you can't go anywhere and you can't do things. And like, I like to travel to Europe and walk around the shops and meet the people and not be known. And it's a great, great life of discovery. But like, if I was famous, it's gone in a heartbeat. And then I have too much money because I can't spend it on things I like doing. And then you have to worry about people who are, we're herd animals, right? Like, we get fame brain. So people act different around you and you can't have authentic connections with new people because the fame is always in the way, you know? And so it's really, really bad. The only thing that gets you is sex with the opposite. So if you're a famous woman or a famous man, you can have all the sex you want with all types of people.
What else did you learn from Dan?
Kind of the idea of what is more powerful as a sexual attractant, whether it's fame or money. And we always knew it was fame, not money, right? We always know like the broke drummer in the band is going to get way more laid than the rich guy, right? The rich guy's not even getting in a club because he's not cool, right? He's got to buy his way in if he can. But we didn't realize like it was 100 times more powerful, or 1,000 times more powerful. It is way, 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 way more powerful than anything.
We had Greg Doucette on, and not that he's like a love guru or anything, but he said he read a study that, what was it, $30,000 in income, every increment up $30,000 is the equivalent of 1 extra inch on your height. And he says that height is like super important. That's what he said.
Yeah, I think for the average person, non-famous, height matters. Dan's short, right? But he's famous. It doesn't matter. I don't care how tall you are. You can be 6'3", trust fund, whatever. The famous guy wins. Prince was short. Everybody, guys and girls.
I'd be curious to see.
Like these guys are short. Like most actors that you see that are like, you know, people are screaming at and girls are throwing their bras at. They're short. Doesn't work well. Tom Cruise is short. You know.
I'd be curious to see the correlation between 1 inch of height and 10,000 followers, and just see like where the optimal is. Because I'm sure being 6'2" is equivalent to like.
Yeah, for the average person that's out there, like
just overall,
height.
There's got to be some
height. A comedian said this. I'm gonna steal it, but he's like, height is to guys what titties are to women. Height's just titties. You know what I mean? It's you know, it's like, you know, like it's like, oh wow, he's got nice tits. Like, it's an attractant, right? Like, it's like, you know, I don't know. Like those things matter. But you know, the experiment that Dan ran was, what does fame do for you, right? Like in the pursuit of getting famous in order to get women, and that hedonic treadmill, fame is extremely powerful, and it taught me that I don't want to be famous. Like I was wanting to go that route, and then I was like, oh no.
So for the people who come up to you and recognize you, what are some of the most impactful stories that you've heard from people who have read your book and changed?
Yeah, like originally it was like, oh, because I'm a trader. Like people knew me from natural gas and trading, like very small niche. And then it was poker because I played poker on TV and the movies, etc. And then recently it's all been like, you're real poker and you wrote the book Die with Zero. I get a lot of stories about how people have completely needle scratched their life and woken up and now they're pursuing their life. And so it could be time of like, now I spend time with my family, or I take my whole family on a trip, or now we're doing this. You know, I haven't been living and now I'm living, but it's some version of they were on autopilot and now they're not. Right, and it's amazing. It's a great feeling. Like it's overwhelming though. It's a little bit because it's like, oh, I can't. You know what I mean? Like one of those guys I can't.
Little me.
Yeah. No, I guess I take it. It's like this was a side project, right? This was like a side thing. Like, fuck it. It's like
a side quest.
Yeah, it was literally it was a side quest. Like, I'm gonna write this book. I'm gonna save my life. Like the doctor's like, you need to write a book. I'm finally gonna write a book. I've been talking forever. It's time to back it up.
Doesn't want to be famous. Go on social media.
But now I'm like, holy shit, it's out
so
there.
funny,
man.
man.
Ever had someone come up to you and say, hey man, I spent too much money?
Never in my life. I mean, I get the beggars on Instagram, like I went broke gambling or whatever, or something like that. But never, I was like, I read my book, because it's not about spending all your money like an idiot. You know what I mean? It's about having the most fulfilling life. Like the title is catching, right? It's supposed to catch you in an airport. It's like, what does he mean Die with Zero? Just, you know, read the book. Oh, it's not what it says, right? Like, so the book is about, you know, if I wanted to have like a kind of like, I don't know, what is that, the own network type title? You know what I mean? It would be like, have the most fulfilling life. You know what I mean? Get the most fulfilling life, or fulfillment. It's for you, or something shit like that, right? And I'm like, no, let's stick with the axiomatic principle is that you should use all your resources up before you die.
I'm in a lot of financial independence groups, and your book is the only one that's consistently mentioned, probably on a daily basis.
Yeah, like the fire guys. Like there was a Mr. Money Mustache, right? Like he's one of the guys who read the book and like kind of shifted. And you know, they're always like have this like allergic reaction at first to the book. They're baptized in fire. Like I was baptized in fire, and like I just tell them like, what happens to the principle? whatever, you know, they're always like, I'm going to spend 3%. I'm like, what happens to the principal? So whatever you have of the principal, right? Like whether it's $1 million, 500,000, whatever, take the hours of your life that it took to build up that principal. That's a waste. You have to spend down the principal. The principal has to go too. And they're always like, you know what I mean? They freak out, right? Because they have this religious belief about this 3%, 4%, whatever rule they are that keeps them safe and living that life. And I'm like, the goal is fulfillment, not to have a nest egg. The goal is not the money. The goal is fulfillment. And the only way to use all your resources is to spend all the money, have great health, and live in be conscious about your life.
In terms of being healthy, what have you found to be the best ROI activities? Is
No.
it gym membership? Is it food?
No, it's walking and hiking, by far, because it's free. You actually enjoy it with friends. You can do it with a group. Like, let's go hike. People in California, Runyon Canyon. Let's go hike all these trails around here. You experience nature. You're actually having an experience, like a fulfilling experience, while also improving your health. Yeah. And you know, like all the doctors like sitting is death. You know, people like this gym or that gym. I'm just like free activity, and you know, running and walking. If walking 3 miles and running 3 miles, almost the same thing, right? It's the same amount of energy, right? Except for running is inefficient from going up and down, so it's like 10% more, or whatever. How inefficient when you run 10, 15. So walking, running, it's just physics related, right? And so you're creating a memory, having a fulfilling time, and preparing yourself for future enjoyment by getting yourself in shape in your lung capacity, right? Then you know, calisthenics and all these other things like that. And so I think that is a very, very, very high ROI is hiking.
What's your skincare routine?
I just wash it and then I put some
like very young.
Oh, that's well, I think I've been told this. I think one, I have good genetics. I think I'm just lucky. Two, though, I don't smoke. I don't really drink that much. I'm a vegetarian, so I think these things matter, right? And then so like if you're out there smoking, you're up late at night and you're drinking, and then you just hydrate your face and then you should be okay.
Do you have like wear sunscreen? You have no wrinkles. It's like
I have some wrinkles here, you know, do this, whatever. It's like, just hydrate your face. Just like get some vitamin E oil, put it on in the morning, and you're fine.
Yeah, like Botox.
10,000 IU.
Like nothing.
You get the Botox. You get the Botox up here.
Yeah.
But I still got it right there. But
Okay.
like you get the oil, man. Just get the oil. Don't smoke. Do you smoke?
No.
Do you drink a lot?
Rarely.
Okay. And then just like, you know,
You
eat
might have
healthy.
1 drink a month.
Eat right, exercise. You know, eating, diet. There's you can't really, like, as you get older, like unless you're an Olympic athlete, you can't outdo your diet. Right? It's like 80-85% of it. Like you just can't do it. Like if you're eating a bunch of chemicals, it's gonna get you. It's gonna pierce through your skin. It's gonna your liver. It's gonna with your metabolism. Like you're young, yeah, you can, but eventually it catches up.
Do you have any questions for us or any comments?
Yeah, like why did you start this podcast?
Well, this was really the brainchild of Jack. Back in 2020, my theory is that he saw that Joe Rogan sold his podcast exclusivity to Spotify, and he came to me, he's like, dude, we gotta start a podcast. And this was May of 2020, and I said, sure, let's give it a shot. Is that what happened, Jack?
No, that is not what happened.
All right.
But it was funny because it was like nearly exactly after he sold his podcast is when we first uploaded our video, and like we were, you know, Graham with a finance channel, and so the top comment was like, Graham Stephan sees Joe Rogan sells podcast for $100 million, starts a podcast. But in this case, no, it's because I've watched a lot of podcasts, or I listened to a lot of podcasts throughout the day. I'd go on a walk and just binge that type of stuff, and I figured that Graham could connect with his audience better if he had a more candid conversation. Like, because the content he was putting out online was all heavily scripted and planned, but I thought he could cultivate a stronger connection with his audience if it was more just kind of impromptu. And we always had kind of funny random banter, and people were also aware of my existence, even though I wasn't publicly facing, just because Graham would randomly bring me up. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we can try this out.
What's the number one activity or activities you want to have in your 20s?
I want to travel a lot. That's the only thing is I went on my first ever like real vacation maybe a year and some change ago, and it like I felt like I had finally experienced a sort of happiness and fulfillment that I just didn't even know existed. And this was like my first, I would say, awakening, because I never, word can't describe how happy I was for like 2 weeks straight, just traveling with my best friend, like going all around. And
your pictures of the car, I get it.
And then since then, I'm just like, wow, I want to do that more, you know. And I think that every time I go on a little trip, like I'm not gonna enjoy it as much that first time, but like every single time I get out of and have a purely personal vacation, it's incredible.
Well, you know the saying, travel's the only thing you spend money on that makes you richer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What about you?
I would say Japan was definitely a really fun experience. I want to do that again, but I don't know. Part of me, because I was thinking through as you were saying it, like some of my best days are when I just lock myself in the office and just crank out a video. And it's one of those times where it's like you get in the flow state and just you lose track of time and you're so in it. And then at the end of the day, you have like a finished product that I'm really proud of. And then it's fun to put it out there and to see how it does and get like the immediate feedback. So some of my like favorite days are just like being able to have the opportunity to do that.
So creating.
Also, yeah, but then I also sometimes don't know if that's because I love the creation process and being in the zone, or if I'm conditioned to feel good about being productive and working.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think like a lot of people get habituated into, you know, let's say you're selling plastics and you're like, you get good at selling plastics, and then all of a sudden you're like, I love selling plastics, and it's like, I just get inceptioned and habituated to be a rat in a wheel selling plastics and thinking I love selling plastics at the expense of the rest of the world.
I don't know. Yeah,
people enjoy what they're good at, and that's kind of like a natural human thing. If you're good at something, it usually ends up being fun to you.
But then what happens is that you believe that is the thing.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I always love having something to do. And there was this was about a year ago, I painted the entire garage. And the garage is like 20 feet tall. It's like a big garage. And I spent all weekend, I'm probably talking maybe like 18 hours, maybe 20 hours, painting this garage. I loved it. But I also don't know if I like just being busy and feeling like I'm doing stuff.
You can do some great travel work. You would love that. You're like Doctors Without Borders, or you know, doing some charity work. Would you like busy and doing something and fulfilling? I think you might like it.
But my other thing is that I like having the ability to stop at any point and just return to whatever I was doing. So it's like, so like
freedom and creativity.
Yeah. So if I had the ability to like, go across the country, but I could snap my fingers and be back in a heartbeat, I would do it. Like, so I like having that freedom of just, I wake up in the morning and I just say, I want to do this, or I want to do this. And that's some of the hard thing with even traveling on the podcast. Sometimes I'm like, yes, I really want to travel. And other days I'm like, I just don't feel like it. So it's hard to lock myself in 6 months from now because I don't know how I'm going to feel.
Where do you think you got this fear from? What do you think's driving your fear?
I think I just naturally always kind of been like this. I mean, because I'm thinking like, I'm trying to go through my childhood. And we certainly didn't have money. I know money was definitely scarce, but I didn't even realize that until probably I was like 15 years old. And my wanting to save money has been around since I was like 5. Like I do remember my grandpa having like rare coins and me thinking that's so cool that there's like a 1920s penny. So I'm going to save these, or like saving Christmases and birthday money. So I've always been like that. So
it's a great skill to have.
I don't know. Part of me thinks that like maybe I was a bit wired for the propensity of like saving money or delayed gratification. And that's just how my mind works. But I can't think of like there's a trigger point of like, oh, this happened and I like shifted my, because I've tried to think through this.
So have you, and you don't have to list them all, but if you have something, when you say delayed gratification, just like, okay, what are you delaying? What's the gratification?
I would say
know what the prize is.
Like immediately what I really want right now, the only thing I want is a really nice house with a big yard and a view of the Las Vegas Strip with a koi pond somewhere in front.
He's got it down. Very specific. He's got it down.
I check Zillow every day because I'm thinking like, listen, if the perfect house comes up, like I'll jump on it. Like, but it's got to be perfect. But then I'm thinking, okay, that house is probably going to be about $4 to $7 million, let's just say, for like that sort of house with like greenery and it's really inspiring. I'm thinking, do I need that now? No. It's like it's better for me to like still play it smart, to optimize what I'm doing with work, to invest the money, and like that house isn't gonna go anywhere over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about it, like you're weighing it out.
Yeah.
What's gonna be most fulfilling, right?
Yeah, so I'm thinking like that's a delayed gratification thing, where it's like it would be irresponsible for me to jump on that now when I feel like I could still enjoy that just as much when I'm like 45. Travel is another one where it's like I would love to fly first class. If money were just like nothing, and I could snap my fingers and everything's free, like yeah, I would love to do that. But at the same time, like business or premium economy, that's what it is. The premium economy is like 80% of the experience for like 10% of the cost. And so I look at that and I'm thinking that's a better deal.
Yeah.
So I did premium economy.
Just curious, Brandon, when you have those days where you lock in, and I know you enjoy these, and I don't doubt that for a second, but do you have like memory dividends from those days?
Certain days, yeah. So here's a good example of this. When the Japanese yen was absolutely collapsing, it was like 11 p.m. at night, East Coast, and I was telling Jack, dude, I gotta get out a video on this. I gotta get it out. And Jack's like, it really doesn't make any difference either way. If like if you post the video, great. If you don't post the video, like it's not gonna make a material change in your life. And I was like, you know what, that's true. But man, I had a great time filming that video, and even the memory card, I filmed the whole video, and the memory card corrupted, and I had to refilm this thing and edit at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I look back at that, and it was a fantastic.
I remember
really
that time because I was
that.
sending notes in our Tokyo travel group, and we're like, we should go back to Japan now. It's on sale. We can have the same experience for like 20% off.
Yeah.
You know.
But certain times like that, I'm so glad I did that because I remember that I had a great time. I spent like an hour setting up in an Airbnb, like a little studio set with just whatever I could find in the kitchen. That was a great time. I even did this last night, and my memory card corrupted again.
You got, I don't know.
It's terrible.
You might have to invest in a new system.
The first time was a fluke. The second time I just was wrong setting. Like,
did you guys go to Team Labs Borderless?
我现在回日本，我觉得美国人也喜欢去，我没想到我会喜欢日本。
They have Planets and Borderless. Planets. You gotta go to Borderless. Okay. Borderless is the real deal.
Go back to Japan. 屁股猫猫都没去过，因为它太胖了，它塞到飞机它都塞不进去。笑死了！
What's your favorite place to travel?
太好笑
It
了
depends on what type of vacation you have. Like Japan is my favorite. I did the countryside. I did Kyoto, Fukuoka, Tokyo. Visited with the geishas in Kyoto. It was amazing.
我觉得我会再回去日本。
Japan so much is it's like
Alright, I think I'm gonna go back to Japan, man. Someday I have to go back. It's too much fun. 我觉得我这个有点坏掉。
A modern culture, first world culture, that is completely different than any place else, right? I think you would have had that experience before they became a monoculture in the world. Like when you go to Europe. You go in some place, you're gonna hear hip hop, right? Like it's very. They're losing the distinct. The French being the French. I mean, there's French things, right? French culture. Germans being Germans. I think in the 40s and 50s it was very distinct and very unique and not Americanized so much. But Japan is wildly different, right? And modern, so it's kind of odd, right? The way they think, the whole existence of it, and it's really amazing to discover. But the Med is amazing. Like Italy, the Amalfi Coast, that whole area is an amazing playground. Amazing to go discovery, go to Pompeii, learn all kinds of different terrain. Greece, that whole area, then into the other side. Croatia is amazing. I mean, that whole.
我觉得欧洲 a lot of Europe looks fucking the same to me. So like I actually really like Japan. Japan looks really. 我也觉得欧洲觉得真的没什么好看、啊。我觉得日本看很，日本看像一个like entertainment district， 像一个娱乐场。It's like 就是感觉我去一个好玩的地方，但我去欧洲我觉得很无聊，也不是很无聊，就是我觉得看差不多一模一样。
European area. Then also I love Denmark and Amsterdam in the summer. Only in the summer. You know, Europe's great. There's a lot of travel around there.
Is there anywhere you wouldn't go?
I think I would go places where the death rate or was extremely high. Like I would even go to places where it's like this is gonna be a struggle. Like I'm not gonna like it at first, like resistant, but just to do it. You know what I mean? And feel it. You know, the last time I went on safari, there were so many bugs in my room. It was crazy, and I'm not a bug guy. And then by the third day, I was like, okay, I'm used to these bugs. Like it was like in a nice.
我却在剪辑我的视频，我还有
crazy because you can see places that look like this in London, but they don't really have the same vibe.
再剪辑一些视频吧，我都忘记，我觉得我回来英国时间过得很快，我去日本会直接过很慢，可能是因为新的经验吧。我回来英国，我觉得因为英国很无聊，我感觉时间过了很快，就是又是星期五了。但是我去日本我不会感觉，就是可能 when you have new experiences, time goes slower， 就是你有新的经验的时候 time goes slower。那如果我每个星期都花1000镑，那我一个月要花4000英镑一个月。我回来2周，但是感觉好像过很快，其实不想回来。
Like this.
我这个很多东西都没剪辑，时间过得真快。我回来的时候没什么好玩，不想回去，然后回来又习惯了，又习惯待在英国。
Girl receipt. My God.
没有人每个星期有啊，就我就是每个星期都出国，不喜欢英国就想出国。
So apparently it's in here, Masua. This is the Masua thing.
Okay, I'm gonna edit this. 英国真无聊，我又想出去。如果英国这么好玩，我绝对不会待在里面。要不然我为什么每天会在直播？没什么东西做，在英国，英国又冷。英国主要是有钱，因为他以前我有问 ChatGPT 很多问题，它主要是英国是在一个 island， 在一个 island， 然后别的国家比较难去打它，所以他应该说英国对就1800年它是最发达。然后主要是他的那个 ship 船，他的 navy 比较强，所以他很容易去别的国家去偷别人的东西吧。主要是他每次去别人的国家，他可以得那边的东西，所以他会变越来越有钱。他每次去别人的国家，他可以得他们的东西。我觉得他其实偷很多东西从那个 India。
So apparently it's in here, Masua.
中国好像我问他是主要是中国觉得他自己够好，所以他不需要 Navy。他说他是什么1500年几个人在中国的选择，他不要 Navy。Navy 你听得懂吗 ？Navy 就是他那个船。他英国的 Navy 当时是比每个国家的更强。而且他别的国家比较难 invade 英国，因为他是在他自己的 island， 所以可能英国在日本都是比较强，因为他别的国家比较难突然打他们。 但是如果他在旁边呢，就更容易。
Masua Bing. Welcome travelers, Masua guest, free Wi-Fi. This. Go through seat.
我再回去，再回去，再回去。他这个什么 beep 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 beep， 好吵啊！而且日本人的感觉跟中国人的感觉也是完全不一样，他有一种感觉，我完全没有看过，就是完全没有看过，在英国也没有看过，还有一种不一样的感觉。但是我看中国人，我一下就知道是中国人。也不一定是更好的感觉，但是是不一样的。而且那些那个动漫里面那些梗的那个男人跟女生，感觉在现实生活也可以看得到，在日本。在生活也可以看得到。你是屁股星星能，屁股星星能。屁股星星能。我下次要买一个 Game Boy， 因为我那个相机会一直动。也许我会买150几磅，也不是很贵。也不是很便宜。
Wait for it. Beef noodle soup.
Beef noodle soup 讲好几遍了。哎呀，才去1个星期，好像的回忆。还是比我这个2个星期待在英国的回忆更强。2个星期待在屁英国看一个电脑，我还是。每天都看同样的电脑。我觉得英国很落后，就是英国是以前的国家的有钱，现在是像他以前的国家剩下的钱了。他以前做的东西，他现在做不了。他现在在全世界不是排名最高。英国的好处，但是我们可以随便骂那个政府，我认为在英国是比较好，这是好处。
I've never seen anything that looks like this.
哦，这个确实很好吃。这个才差不多4磅，比英国的食物好吃多。那也不是，可能我给这个7到8分吧。但是我妈煮的东西会更营养，其实她那个会好吃，但是不会很营养。它只是牛肉跟白饭，然后跟汤，所以它营养不是很高，但是会好吃。对我妈做的东西会比那边更健康。它只是肉跟饭，然后这哪里有什么营养？都没菜。我看好像快30岁的那个，哎呀，老人。他这个 AI 应该给全部人看。他说 talk and 淘气毛，淘气 New Year。 他那个 AI，他说阿克西刚才说什么猫需要睡觉什么？他 AI 应该给每个人看啊。哇，从这个角度我看真老，宁宁已经快，而且我当时都没睡很多。宁宁已经，确实我太多，我吃饭的那个东西，吃饭也拍6分钟了，那我就可以拍一点点就够了。我拍一点点差不多就够了。OK。对，我不需要拍那么长吃饭的东西。OK。什么的？而且我还是
So many people on bikes getting run over by a bike. It's pretty good. I rate that dish. How much? Oh, 48 is decent. It's pretty much like Eat Tokyo in London, but cheaper.
我确实没有经常那个 vlog 过，我讲话也不是那么大声。什么料条、辣条？什么料条
Getting run over by a bike. It's pretty good. I rate that dish. How much? Oh, 48 is decent. It's pretty much like Eat Tokyo in London, but cheaper. Never had beef that tasted like that. It was like a combination of being sweet and savory at the same. Yeah. Cool though. It's nice to be outside of the UK. Change.
OK， 这经济这个就够了，经济这么就够了。
Place, but our roof, the thatch roof, got infested with termites, and the bugs could get in. And it was just like the net and the bugs and cups and shit, bugs everywhere. But Safari is amazing. I highly recommend Safari.
哇 ，Netflix 会买 Warner Bros.
I do Safari.
And your least
他有这么多
favorite
钱吗？
Like if you were to name or call out a destination and say this was not worth it, or I didn't like it and I would not go back again.
I think anything that's designed for tourists, like I didn't like going on a cruise. I mean, I see the value play in it, etc., but it wasn't me. I can do that when I'm 80, you know what I mean, or 75, right? Like it's like basically taking like a little bit of America, sticking it on a boat, and doing this thing on a boat with a bunch of people.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be on a boat.
Consuming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're on their schedule, so you have to get on and off the boat on their schedule, and at first you're like, this is great, like look at all this food, and then like 10 pounds later when you get off the boat, you're like, what the did I just do to myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very canned. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now I could see myself like later in life really enjoying like the peace of a cruise, and the food's over there. It's always there. There's always food out and snacks out, and everything being your spot. And America is just cramped on this thing, and you're just enjoying the view. But at this age, I hated it. I hated it. Now maybe it was the type of cruise I was on, but I wouldn't do it. So anything like that.
What do you think of what the fire community has become?
I mean, I think fire is a great skill set, especially like there's no fire in Japan. Like this is them. They say they give to their community. They don't, you know what I mean? Like they have a simple life. They understand the concept of enough, etc. And I think when Your Money or Your Life, when that came out, which launched the fire community, that's kind of like their Bible, right? You know, I think they went into the extreme. It's become this like, how can I refreeze popcorn to get the popcorn out, right? And it's a lot of people. It's become savings porn, right? Which, you know, Your Money or Your Life was about getting in touch with your values and having a fulfilling life. That's what the book is about, right? And it suggests ways at which you can do that, like even taking less salary by not commuting as much and looking at your hourly wage, right? And I think the fire community has kind of lost that.
因为
right?
Magnolia
They've
屁股
gone
真
on to this,
臭，
like
真
a
臭。
version of, not completely, but a version of is like, I'm going to do 15 years in Sing Sing, and then when I get out, I'm going to live the life, you know, and I won't have to work anymore, etc. And I'm like, listen, while you're in jail, life is passing you by. You know, you're not meant to be in any kind of jail, whether it's your own jail of your mind that you're creating by not enjoying life now, or actually going into Sing Sing for some like prize, some Mr. Beast prize. I got $50 million, so somebody would do 15 years in jail, you know, that type of thing. And so that's my criticism of the fire movement. On the flip side, though, here in America, there is an epidemic of careless and wasteful spending and people living above their means.
我觉得我不想去杜拜，我更想去那个亚洲。杜拜对我没有兴趣，我对欧洲没有兴趣，我还是多看，可能我要多看中国吧。中国主要是中国也不需要签证，可能最长10天应该够吧。
And so that's a good part about them.
杜拜，我对杜拜没有兴趣，而且杜拜他这边说杜拜也很贵。那杜拜加密货币的人会去杜拜，因为他们没有税 ，no tax。
Teaches people to be like not live their life.
So what if a person says, "Hey, I went 30 grand into debt so I could go and travel the world, but now my credit cards are all maxed out. I'm making $20 an hour. It's going to take me a decade to pay this thing off, but I had an epic time."
Might be worth it. I don't know. It's really about like I would go into debt if that was the experience that I could have, and it depends. Like the fire people are doing it in reverse, right? They're like, I'm going to grind out for 20 years, and then I'm going to have this great trip. And this guy's like, I went into debt, and I'm going to have to grind this way, right? Isn't it the same thing, right? Like,
I guess so.
It's a version of autopilot, right? Like they didn't think it through. It's like maybe there was a better way to do this, or maybe that was a proper way to do it. You know, right? They're just doing it in reverse, right? They're just grinding it out, and then when I'm 45, I'm going to have this great, wonderful life, right? Like, this guy's like, no, I'll go into debt and I'll grind it out later, right? Struggling, flipping burgers or whatever, right? But I think there's an in-between conscious way to think about this. It's like where experiences belong, where. What are my resources? What are my future resources going to be like? And how do I allocate my resources through this period? Right? That's the real way to do it. Right?
屁股弄脸真臭，真臭！我在中国好像都没有过新年过，我住这么多年都没有在中国过新年过，除了小时候。我有跟我同学过新年过，那要是同学，他们就外面吃饭，他们就外面吃饭。我有跟同学过新年过。
I did this. But on the flip side, as much as I want that, right, these guys are finding out all the hacks, right? Like I often say that, you know, I could be on a super yacht in the Amalfi Coast or whatever, and somebody somewhere is on a boat, on a ferry, having the same experience, soaking it all in and enjoying it, right? They're getting the same fulfillment, and they're with their buddies and they're having a great time, right? So I think at all income levels, you can have that adventurous and fulfilling life, right? And you can top rate it and glaze it over if you want as you make more money, right? And so I think what the fire guys do is they figure out like, you bought a house for this? Well, I found this deal. And you got a mortgage for that, and I found this deal. And like, you're buying shirts from here, like shirts online for this, right? And so like, so what they're doing is they're reducing the amount of life you have to give up for this level of fulfillment, and that's a subcategory of like the wealth, right? And so
it's funny. That's me to a T. Yeah, it's just like trying to figure out what is the best value for every single thing I could spend.
I could use you. They're like, this $1 million is going to go a lot further in fulfillment, right? Like they're in the. I'm at the top level, right? Like I'm like your wealth, health, and time. These guys are at optimizing one of the columns, right? They're optimizing the wealth bucket, so that for every dollar you spend, you get that much more fulfillment.
Yeah.
So what I would tell these guys, like, let's not do without, but let's just find the most efficient way to do it. Like, let's still get all these things, right? Let's still go to the club, but let's find the cheaper, more fun club with the better specials, right? You know what I mean? The bottles here are 6,000, bottles here are 2,000.
I put a little video on this like 7 years ago. I went through all of my expenses and talked about ways to optimize them. And one of mine was like, I had a buddy who got a Thanksgiving bonus of like $200. This is when I was 21 years old. Spent it all at the bar, the entire thing that night. I was like, it's ridiculous because you could have the same experience had he just gotten a bottle from the grocery store for $20, the whole thing, split it with his friends.
Oh, this is something I learned from Dan.
Yeah, just do that. So and then you go to the bar and like, that's what I would do. I would never spend money at the bar. I would always just get a bottle from the grocery store. And
sometimes you can have
in the parking lot. Sometimes in the parking lot, but then go into the bar and then I just order waters the entire night.
Well, this is one thing you said what I learned from Dan. And Dan would be like, look, why would you spend all this money in a club? We can spend like that much money, control the environment, have a party at our place, rent a place, have a party. You control the environment, you control the guest list. You are the man, so you have all the girls there, etc. Right? You're the one throwing the party, etc. As opposed to like one dude out of many, right? And like those are the things you would do. Is like, why would you spend thousands and thousands of dollars keep going to a club with? Take that, throw one party, and you are the man.
The other thing that reminded me of going out to restaurants. Throughout my early 20s, I would never want to spend money at restaurants, but I still wanted the experience of going out with friends to restaurants. So what I would do is I would eat at home beforehand, but then go to the restaurant and order the least expensive thing on the entire menu, which is usually like a $10 salad. Right. And then what I would do is I'd bring cash. Because what would happen is that everyone would be like, oh my god, how do we split the bill? We have to throw in a credit card. I don't want to throw in a credit card when their bills are like $100. Mine should be 10. So I'll bring like $20 cash, and I throw in my 20. I'm like, all right, I'm set. I don't have to worry about splitting this check. But
both the restaurant and his friends, but yeah.
There was one time even, this is going to sound awful, there's one time I went to the restaurant and I asked them if I could bring in a Subway. and I brought in a Subway because there's a Subway like a few little.
They let you bring in a Subway.
They let me bring in a Subway.
Jesus.
No,
我
because
要
it was
我也
really
要
12
去看看。
So I just asked for a
我忘
free drink.
AI.
It was super nice. I mean, I left a tip.
Where
I brought in a Subway. My meal was $6.
the best places to visit in
I don't know if it's the same experience. You're not eating the same food. Like a communal Subway.
我对 Dubai 没有兴趣，而且我对欧洲，我对欧洲可以近，但是我去欧洲，22岁去欧洲。其实我22岁跟去欧洲，我29岁去台湾，其实感觉其实差不多那种。一个人去不是很好玩，那感觉有点孤独。那我去日本一个人去，我不会觉得孤独。
Oh, he'll also get a little taste at the end.
I have a thing for food waste.
感觉是差不多，特别是在那个我住在那个 hostel 更便宜，感觉很小里面。可能要去看韩国吧，韩国没有去过。
Wasting food. And so sometimes I'll see someone order like a big steak or something like this. They eat half, and then they send it back to be thrown away. And I'm like, that's $50 worth of food that they're throwing away in the trash that I would be happy to eat.
For granted, it's
韩国、香港已经去过，人家跟我说香港跟以前没有很大的变化。
So like as long as he's better off, you just better. Steak right here. Yeah, you took a bite out of this carrot. Okay, like you know, if I can avoid your teeth marks
So
on the
I
carrot.
see that as me getting paid for doing nothing. So let's just say in that
我
situation.
对越南也没有很感兴趣，那我还是去，要不然就是泰国，泰国也不是很感兴趣。韩国，他们为什么这个 AI 没有推荐中国啊？
All like to eat it at a dinner. We're all paying for our own meals, and you have half a steak that you're gonna throw away, and your half of steak is worth $40. Me having your half a steak that would be thrown away is the equivalent to me making $40. That's how I see it.
I mean, you're not wrong.
哦，主要是我去中国那个就是有点麻烦，那个地图根本都用不了，然后什么软件很多都用不了，那个确实麻烦。
Oh, there is some
AI 答案也不一定对。西安已经去过，我以前那个 Terracotta Warrior 有拍照，我是19岁有拍照，我都忘记了，那是10年前的经验，我都忘记了。你要不要看我之前有去中国。
He doesn't want them to be inefficient. He wants them to eat the whole thing, but they didn't. That you're crushing because you're taking up the chair. That could be another patron who's a paying patron, and you're robbing him of his services indirectly.
So I mean, what you're saying is correct. You are getting paid. This is full optimizing your gaming, but you're.
我10年前那个。
But the food's gonna be thrown away. So your work is wasted. Isn't there work?
Let's put it down at the bottom of this video. Please don't waste food. Order appropriately. You know, don't waste food.
Yeah.
Order appropriately. We can put that at the bottom, and then you can go in and you can order your own food and support the business.
10年前
but
他
to
这
Jack's
个
point,
人
there are some people that I would consistently go out with, and they would always have like half of their food.
有，这是我跟我同学
You sound like my mom. Like, where is this?
在这里面，我这时候应该19岁吧，19岁还是比现在更年轻。这是在西安。
Beside them, like, you know what? Actually, you can.
It started to be a running joke, but they would come over and throw away the food, like, and I said, oh wait, actually, could we get all this together?
这在我回忆，我根本都不会去记的，因为已经10年，已经太久了。
Just stand outside and panhandle for scraps. People.
那是我在旁边，19岁还是比现在更年轻。
I honestly, I wish there were a service. They would just go around restaurants and be like, whatever you're about to throw away, just put in this side of the restaurant.
They have that. They do have that for the homeless. Like they do give that out. There are those services. They're generally for the homeless, not you. But you know, you could start a new trend.
I heard that they're not allowed to give that food to homeless because
no, some
get sick from it. Now it's
not the half-eaten ones, no, but the ones that are not sold.
So we'll take this up that the homeless people reject. Well, they won't allow. They won't allow. The homeless people can't even ingest.
Yes, but like if you stand outside the restaurant and be like, hey, whatever you don't eat, could you put it in a go? I'm sure everybody will.
If it were not for people like Jack and my wife just getting really embarrassed
没
by
想
that
到
and like social norms.
没想到屁股猫猫是这个星星，
I hold back out of fear of
是
embarrassing.
屁股星星上的人。哎呀，我在剪辑一些视频了。我其实不是很讨厌剪辑的，主要是没什么人看啊。哎，
This is the cue.
而且我这个视频有点 shaky， 它就一直动。我现在要买一个 gimbal。
Soft toys. I know what this is. Soft toys. I think it's cool. Yeah. Shadow the Hedgehog.
我就试着买一个 gimbal。
Like even last night.
gimbal 很贵啊，100几十磅。
And like, you know, the guy was like, "Oh, do you live here in Texas?" And Graham's like, "No, why?" And he's like,
Gimbal.
I said, no, why? You know, I'm not gonna lie. And then he said, oh, because there's a locals discount. And Graham's like, oh, well, in that case, we live here in Texas. And then the guy was
said
like,
in a very joking way.
The guy was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And Graham's like, no, seriously, like, you know, do you guys have a discount or anything? He's like, yeah, it's a little bit of a discount. And Graham's like, well, like, the guy's kind of trying to like swat him away like a fly. Like, oh, you know, like,
he was laughing.
He was laughing. Like, granted, I'm making it sound worse than it is. He was kind of laughing and playing along a little bit, but still, like, if I get one rejection for like Graham, like, probably asked. Finally, I was like third or fourth time of like, what would we have to do, you know, to try to get a little.
Well, with this restaurant thing, he's gonna save more money than he ever made because he's gonna fucking be getting free food. He's like, well, I view that as $40. I'm like, he keeps doing things like this.
And they ended up giving us, you know, some sort of a discount at least.
Yeah, they did.
It is nice.
But he was successful. But he was laughing. It wasn't that.
DJ
I said, no, we didn't.
Gamble.
And I'm like, do we get a discount if we do? And the guy said, yeah. And I'm like, well, in that case, yeah, I guess we live in Texas. And he
可以
laughed.
买一个
And then
Gamble，
I
你知道
joked with
Gamble
him,
是什么
like,
东
you
西
know,
？Gamble
are we
就
gonna go
是
buy something if we're like visiting friends in Texas. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I could do that. Like something like that.
To me, it's just like
相机
I don't know,
相机
maybe
动的
it's
时候，
a
它就
technical
不会
thing too, but I'm like, I just don't
不会那么 shaky。
Well, I think it's negotiable. Like hotels and mattresses, you can always negotiate them. Always. So he's found something, right? Like that one's, and your ego's like, I don't want to look like an idiot. You should lose that part. But like the food one,
Yeah, pick and choose battles.
I mean, we're going further and further along the spectrum. you
See,
know?
almost anywhere I go, if I'm alone, I ask for the employee discount. But I want to say, like, discount tire. Oh my gosh, I saved like $300 recently. Just because I was joking with the guy, and I'm like, you know,
I need this guy in my life.
There's
Like,
like,
he's gonna.
But I want
You are a subroutine that needs to be running, and everybody needs that subroutine to a certain degree.
But yeah, but I'm never a Karen about it. But
No,
it's always
yeah.
like it's like a really joking, friendly sort of like, hey man, can we hook this up? Or like, but usually they're all like, all right, yeah, okay. And then they type in like a few things, and then
They're never like, of course, man, I'd love to give you the same thing I'm giving everyone else, but for a little bit cheaper. Like they're never like enthusiastic to do it. But
enterprise, Jack, that you benefited from that.
So this got me to
On
a
an
question,
enterprise
like a question for both of you that I think is like, it seems like you spend a lot of time and a lot of mental energy on the saving side. How much mental energy do you spend on the revenue side? See,
Just as much.
Because I went the opposite way.
DJ
When I read Your Life,
Ronan.
it was like all these frugal exercises and saving money. I went that way. But what it really wanted me to do was like, oh, there's another way to solve for this problem. Having so much money that you don't give a such that it's not worth my time to even ask for the discount. Like the 2 minutes speaking for the discount, wow, I've lost so much money.
Yes and no. I see my time as having different values throughout different times of the day. Like right now, my time is really, really, really valuable. But at 10 p.m. at night, my time is worthless for the most part. So if my time is worthless, I may as well utilize that time effectively. Same thing with on an airplane. My time is worth 0. So I try to do an activity where at least it's not worth 0. So if I'm out at AutoZone getting my tires replaced, it's going to be, I'm there regardless. So like spending that extra 2 minutes is going to be the same thing. So I may as well optimize it.
I can see some of the variable value in a person's time. I don't do that as much, but to that extent. But I do realize like my free time is way, way, way more valuable than my work time because that's the reward. You don't want to cut the reward. So it's like time with my daughters. If something comes up and just like everything's out, right? Unless I absolutely have to hire obligation or made a commitment. But if it's like, oh, these things that are going to go away and I'm going to get to spend less time with, if they like, oh yes, I will spend time with you, everything stops. So there is some variable in the value of time, but not that much.
It might be different with kids. Would you say that's the case?
Oh yeah, it's always. I mean, it's really your priority stack, right? Like you'll have this priority stack. You know, whatever's going on, your kids, your family, your friends, your hobbies, your interests, your work, whatever. And you'll arrange this priority stack, and they have the way to interrupt your subroutines, right? Like this one, the highest one can interrupt this one. This one can interrupt this one. This one, and it shouldn't go this way. You know that much. You know, very, very, very hard to go this way. Very easy to interrupt going that way, right? And so that's kind of the way I look at it. The mental model I have in my head. But even with you know, you can get to a wealth level or earnings level where none of it matters. You won't waste the time. Like, you know, people write these things like if Bill Gates dropped $100, it wouldn't be worth the time that he spent to pick up $100 type of thing. I mean, that's kind of like a big extreme example. But you can get to that where it's like, it's not worth negotiating. It's not worth even talking about. It's not worth wasting the neurons even thinking about it. That's kind of what I wanted, right? That was, I haven't gotten there, but that's the goal, right? Like, I don't worry about it. I don't ask the price. I'm not worried about the price. It's not going to affect my life. I have a problem. You know, in the beginning when we were talking about like, this guy has a need to spend money and the only way he can immediately search out is $10,000 model at the club, right? Like I have a need to convert it into experiences and I can't really focus on the savings part, right? That's where I wanted to be. And so I wonder, you say you spend a lot on the revenue side, but do you spend, what would you say is more, revenue or savings?
I would say, what would you say, probably 50-50?
Savings.
I'd say more time on savings?
Yeah, I would say a substantial amount more on savings. I mean, all
day to day.
I'll come to Graham for like a certain deal or this or that, and he's like, yeah, whatever you think, and which is fine because I like to have control over stuff like that. But at the same point, like Graham will spend, I mean, how much time have you spent, you know, on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, looking at the price of a certain vehicle, and you're like, oh, it's just not, it's just not that great of a deal. Like, oh, it's just not that great of a deal. Like on Zillow, like all of these things, scouring to just try to save a little bit more money on something you could.
I have fun doing
buy.
that.
Yeah, which is
my guilty pleasure, Cars and Bids or Bring a Trailer, and I look at certain cars that I've wanted, and I'm like, if it sells at that price, I can't say no to it. I love a deal. So it's like everything at a certain price, I'm like, I'm a buyer of that.
But the difference is if you spent all of that time that you spent on Bring a Trailer, you can probably buy the cars you're looking at. You know, on increasing.
Right. So I'm going to agree with that. And I'm going to pay you like kind of a backhanded compliment. I just think that like at your level of intelligence and hustle, etc., that you are incorrectly allocating your mental energy on savings because the revenue side that you can yield will blow away the savings. Right. So you say you're spending over 50% time thinking about savings, and it was like if you just focus your mental energy on like how can I generate revenue, like significant capital, like more money than you actually need to live, I think you would be successful, and I think it would dwarf all your
Now,
savings.
what about the enjoyment of the hunt and feeling proud of a
That is
purchase?
the thing for Graham.
Well, like there's the cars that I bought. I'm like, that was a great price. Like that was a good, and I wouldn't have found this deal.
I for his 4 GT, I could see a little like.
Oh yeah, there's
Okay,
another.
let me put it to you this way. I think you have probably superior mental acuity than me. How would it feel to buy 100 of those cars and not get here? How about
I
the
don't
enjoyment?
even need 100.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, or 100 or other things. How would it know to feel like your kid is going to college and never have, and not have to worry about things? How would that feel? You think you get fulfillment from that?
I don't. But the part. So my counter to that would be, to me, it seems like a disrespect of money.
No,
For-
you're
for-
disrespecting your mental neurons and the allocation of it. We're just talking about fulfillment.
Yeah.
And you're saying, I love getting a deal on a car and doing that. I was like, do you like traveling? Are there other things you like in life? I mean, I'm not saying that it's not fulfillment.
Sure.
I mean, it's nice, but you don't have to do that all the time, right? Like, there's other things in life. And I'm just saying that if you allocated your mental neurons to the revenue side, given how bright you are, right, and the hustle you have and your work ethic, okay, that it would dwarf the fulfillment of getting the deals that you're getting. I'm just pointing that out.
please.
And I'm not gonna be
Yeah,
straight, right? Like,
yeah.
it could be wrong. So I'm just saying, like, from the outside, the guy knows I could be dead wrong because you don't know what you're talking about. A lot of times I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. I'm just saying that I think you're misallocating your resources. Like, if I got to play the game of your life, with your resources and your abilities, right? Like, focus on saving deals all the time or spend time dreaming up ways and reviewing deals and making money. I'd be like, this one. This is a more fulfilling life. 50-50 or 80-20. I like 80-20 this way. So I think just from an allocation, your mental you have finite mental capacity, right? Finite hours, right? I would just say that I think you're over allocated the wrong way.
Okay.
I could be dead wrong, right? But I'm just saying, and you're like, well, I get fulfillment. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of fulfillment in $10 million, right? And you're the type of guy that can make $10 million in a year. So is he?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's the enjoyment of saving, or I don't know if I'm programmed to think that I enjoy that because that's all I know.
I would
Or that's
bet
what
a
I'm-
lot of money. It's the programming.
I mean, I've known him a long time, and I said the same thing over and over again. That is programming, but he really does enjoy a deal. And I'm not just saying this to defend him. I'm just saying, like,
he's well programmed.
Yeah, he is very, very,
Very well programmed.
And the only thing that I feel like as a friend that I could recommend to him, and I want to hear your perspective on this, is that he should get uncomfortable a little bit more often. Because at this point in Graham's life, he has a very, very strong tie to just being comfortable. And it boils down to things as simple as like the temperature in a room. But I feel like what it comes down to is never trying something new and challenging yourself. It's like you've been rewarded financially.
That's where the growth is, right?
Yes, and that's why I think like maybe you try to like spend some money and just see if you like it. Maybe you try like when you got uncomfortable and you skipped a posting and you decreased the upload frequency on your main channel, your life has improved drastically, and it took you years to get there. But realistically, you could have done it 2 years before. You really, really could have.
I beg to differ.
A year before, like it didn't need to be exactly at that time. And I think that just and not going all in with trying something new and getting uncomfortable, but doing little like experiences and trying out small things every once in a while to get.
Yeah, or even focusing on the revenue side. Like, you don't have to go 80-20 like I said. You can just spend 10% more. I mean, there's just like a lot. There's a lot. Like, you're just like, I really enjoy getting a deal. And like, I'm pretty sure your audience will be like, yeah, there is a lot of fulfillment in $10 million. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if I told you for a fact, okay, let's just take all the risk out of it, that if Graham only focused 20% of your mental energy on savings and 80% on like making money, revenue ideas, deals, whatever, and you are guaranteed to have $10 million extra, would you take that deal?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you already agree that if the reward is $10 million, so somewhere between $0 and $10 million, it makes sense. You should calculate what that is and then see if it's achievable and then run it out.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Okay,
Like, that's just consciously thinking about. Like, we just poo-pooed it right away. No, I enjoy getting a deal. I'm like, well, let's think about this for a second, right? Somewhere between $0 and $10 million, you should be spending more of your time focusing on revenue. And then we should think about what's realistic. And I think that, not immediately, like nobody's going to learn how to play piano overnight, but I think there's like a lot of yield in your time. Like, everything you create, it comes from out of your mind. This whole podcast, all your success, right? You don't go dig ditches or you're not a construction worker or whatever. It all comes from here, right? And then you executing on that, right? So more of that is more revenue. And you've gotten comfortable where you're at. And you're like, all my fulfillment comes from making deals. I'm like, well, there's a lot of fulfillment in having the capital and being able to spend that. And also obligations, future obligations have to be met. You said you want a big family. Well, it's a lot of obligations. So you should think about that. And then maybe you might go, well, 10% more on revenue side, mental focus, or 20% or 30% or 80%, or maybe even 90 more than Bill said, right? Because that's kind of the conversation I had with myself, right? Like, am I going to save myself into the life I want? And the answer was no, not the life I want. Maybe some people can, but I couldn't. I wasn't going to save it. I'm like, I'm going to have to take a big risk and make a lot of money.
It's weird. Not to dig too much into like my own personal matters, but like I think I've already done that. Where I'm like, I'm spending an amount that I'm comfortable with, assuming a 50% market drop. Like, family obligations come up. You have a kid with a disability that needs some parents. Like, all of these things happen at the same time. I'm talking like, oh, and then our income goes to zero. And so I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
in that
live on
case,
both
can I still
accounts.
do the exact same? And if the answer to that is yes, then I'm comfortable, and then I'm good.
Right. Well, then you need no more. There's no. Then the answer would be honestly that no, copy, paste, repeat. Like, I'm not here to change your life. I'm not here to save your life, right? I'm just here to tell you that there are ways that you can look at things and see, like, hey, yes, $10 million I have use for it. What you're saying is I don't have use for $10 million. I'm happy. I don't have any wants.
Well, the thing is, 10 could be 5, and then at 5 at a 4% withdrawal rate.
Hey, there he goes. Here he goes.
After tax, now you're with 170, and then
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, however you convert it to fulfillment is your way. Like, whether you spend it on or 4% a year on getting deals at restaurants, that's up to you, right? I'm just saying, like, where is the best allocation of your resources, right? right? And right now we're talking about your health and particularly your mental health, right? Where are you sending these neurons? What problems should your neurons be working on? It seems like your neurons are heavily focused on saving. And I'm like, those are really good neurons, right, Jack? These are good neurons.
Oh.
All right. You guys have good neurons, right? Like you guys have good neurons together with your friend, together these neurons. I'm like, should I focus those neurons on the revenue side? Me, evil Bill Perkins, right? I'm like, give me those neurons. Let's focus on the revenue side. No more standing outside trying to get leftovers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I could commit to a few months of trying that out, like 2 months, as an experiment.
And what is that going to look like in application?
I would say instead of being so focused on saving little aspects here and there, of just being more focused on the revenue generating side.
Yeah, well, you need an action plan. Like, what is that? We're gonna meet on Tuesday and go through ideas, stocks, investments, business building. Like, tell me what are the things you're gonna do? I mean, we don't have to lay that now, but you should commit to that.
It would probably just be less focused on like the little tiny details, which maybe that frees up an extra 10%. Where
but the brain has to then take those neurons and apply them to like, what is your action plan? But we don't have to go into that right now. But like offline, you guys should be like, okay, every X day at whatever o'clock, we're gonna have a meeting and we're gonna go over these things and get action items on like whatever, and we're gonna execute on one of these plans.
I'd say one of the biggest ones is office space. Jack and I right now don't have an office. It's out of a bedroom, which I love. It's convenient, but it also doesn't lend itself to working together.
How does that yield more money? Because we're focused on the revenue side.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, like someone would come up with an idea, and the amount of time between idea and execution was a lot longer because we had a text, and I'd only see Graham once a week or this or that. But I think that if we had an office, we were all meeting in person.
You're 100% right.
The speed by which things will get done is a lot faster.
So the way I'm understanding it is that if you put out more content, it equals more revenue, and your audience grows.
More content, but also just like in terms of just like communication, coming up with guest ideas.
Better content, yes.
Yeah.
So you have more content, better guest ideas, better quality show, better execution, more money.
So here's what holds me back from a finance perspective. We have it so well in the house. It's easy. There's no commute. The cost of each episode to produce is like a few grand, as it is. And I'm like, if we pack an office on top of that,
the cost per episode.
Now the cost per episode more than doubles because we don't film every episode in our office. We film maybe half of them in the office, and then the other half of them in the home studio, and then the other half on the road like we are right now. And so if we only film 2 episodes a month in an office space that we now rent, the cost per episode skyrockets. And now our threshold is so high, and I'm like, do we need that?
Well, it depends on the production value and what goes into it. The only answer is it net more revenue? And does it grow the platform?
I would say the quality is going to be the same. I don't think quality maybe a
quality will be improved a little bit.
So
I think the main thing is just that we're kind of talking every day. You know what I mean?
So idea generation.
Yeah. Idea generation, yeah.
So what he would say on his argument, using his neurons, he would say that why don't we just have a mandatory Zoom every day that we discuss this, and it's a 20-minute Zoom, and that will solve the idea generation without having an office.
We could. I don't think we would. Like I think like we can come up.
You don't think you would?
I don't think we would do the Zoom. No, we'd be like, I don't really have anything to talk about today. But if we're like in the office and we're just kind of working on something, this is interesting, and then I run it by.
So you're saying that like, what if you had a mandatory meeting place that you went to? So it wasn't an office, but like every X time we have to go to Starbucks or wherever the place that people hang out. And
that could work out.
The thing is, when you pay for something, you're gonna value and use it more. And it's one of the, like an expensive gym membership where it's like, oh man, if I don't use it, now I'm wasting money. That's how that's a motivator for me.
That's what you need to get him to go to ideate to create the more money. Then I guess that's the only way you can do it if you can't force yourself to meet at a meeting place or whatever. But like this whole exercise, and I'm not saying that you come to the exercise, is that this is how you should be spending your neurons more so than the food example.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, right? Like I think that's what's going to drive you to the level of comfort that you aspire to live, and the level of pickleball travel that you want to live, more so than saving.
Panhandling for half-eaten sushi.
Panhandling, I panhandled before as an exercise.
How was that?
It was eye-opening. It was awakening, and it helped me realize that no matter what, you can make money.
Were people nice to you?
No, it was a little dangerous. It was a dangerous job. A lot of people were nice, and there was some danger associated with it.
What happened?
Oh, there was like gangbangers that were gonna hook me up.
Why?
Get out of the street or do whatever. You know what I mean? Like just because you're low, because they can, right? Humans are humans, and there were people who were very nice and very sweet.
How much did you make?
Enough to be on pace to make like $60,000 to $70,000 a year tax free.
Whoa.
Right, but I stopped the experiment. It was part of an emotional intelligence class, right? Like facing your fears about things.
Generation, yeah.
So what he would say on his argument, using his neurons, he would say that why don't we just have a mandatory Zoom every day that we discuss this, and it's a 20-minute Zoom, and that will solve the idea generation without having an office.
We could. I don't think we would. Like I think like we can come up.
You don't think you would?
I don't think we would do the Zoom. No, we'd be like, I don't really have anything to talk about today. But if we're like in the office and we're just kind of working on something, this is interesting, and then I run it by.
So you're saying that like what if you had a mandatory meeting place that you went to? So it wasn't an office, but like every X time we have to go to Starbucks or wherever the place that people hang out. And
that could work out.
The thing is, when you pay for something, you're gonna value and use it more. And it's one of the, like an expensive gym membership where it's like, oh man, if I don't use it, now I'm wasting money. That's how that's a motivator for me.
That's what you need to get him to go to ideate to create the more money. Then I guess that's the only way you can do it if you can't force yourself to meet at a meeting place or whatever. But like this whole exercise, and I'm not saying that you come to the exercise, is that this is how you should be spending your neurons more so than the food example.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, right? Like I think that's what's going to drive you to the level of comfort that you aspire to live, and the level of pickleball travel that you want to live, more so than saving.
Panhandling for half-eaten sushi.
Panhandling, I panhandled before as an exercise.
How was that?
It was eye-opening. It was awakening, and it helped me realize that no matter what, you can make money.
Were people nice to you?
No, it was a little dangerous. It was a
Really?
dangerous job. A lot of people were nice, and there was some danger associated with it.
What happened?
Oh, there were some like gangbangers that were gonna fuck me up. You know, like
Right.
get out of the street or do whatever. You know what I mean? Like just because you're low, because they can, right? Humans are humans, and there were people who were very nice and very sweet.
How much did you make?
Enough to be on pace to make like $60,000 to $70,000 a year tax free.
Whoa.
Right, but I stopped the experiment. It was part of an emotional intelligence class, right? Like facing your fears about things, and I went out and did it, and it was very liberating. And I was just like, yeah, you're just gonna be all right.
And that was meant to teach people that no matter what,
It was my exercise. No,
okay.
it wasn't like everybody does this exercise.
I see,
It was-
okay.
It was like my exercise. Like some people had to go to something way high, whatever. Like, but like it was a great exercise. It was like this is a hard job,
Yeah.
but it's a lucrative job.
Was there an effective way, like a sign? That
I didn't even have a sign.
or
Like I was, that's why I was like, oh, I know I can really crush it if I had a sign.
So what's like the optimal way to panhandle?
I don't know. I was only out there for like one day, a couple hours.
You
like-
gotta see Grant on
Graham's got he's like,
what freeways?
I think a sign would be better. I think looking destitute is fine, but not completely like disheveled or smelly or like scary. And being at a very busy intersection, and that has a light, and that allows people to give you money. So I think it's always going to boil down to a numbers game.
That reminded me. I remember in 2009, I believe it was. I would get off a freeway exit in Studio City on a regular basis, driving from Glendale to Beverly Hills, and there was a guy who was constantly on the side of the freeway, but he wore a suit, like a decent looking suit. He wore glasses, clean cut sort of guy, but he said he lost his job. Like on the side, he says like he lost his job looking for work, anything helps. And the fact that he wore a suit and seemed clean cut, I'm like, this is the guy who gets my money. So like, usually what I do is I pack Nutrigrain bars actually on my drive, knowing that when he's there, I give him a Nutrigrain bar or I give him a water or something like that. But that just popped into my mind like that.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the answer is I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
think
he could just be
90
like
minutes or 2 hours out there, or
Just
whatever time I was out
hops
there.
in his Ferrari and goes straight to.
You don't know. That one lady pretended to be disabled.
Yeah.
And then you see her just like wheeling off a few blocks.
I mean, if you're gonna be
hops in, like,
disingenuous, yeah,
hops
you
into
do all
a
kinds of things,
Mercedes,
right?
and she was making like $100,000 a year.
You can do well. I mean, but I think that would be an effective allocation of your mental resources. But I could see him like maybe, I could see him like gamifying it and getting some fulfillment out of this and justifying it.
I like optimization.
It's like, yeah, go on a hike in the morning, then I panhandle for half an hour. And then
my time's worth zero anyway.
Yeah, he's got a zero time calculator going. Anyway, I don't have that many. You know, I can ask a zillion questions, but I don't want to take a minute Zoom, and that will solve the idea generation without having an office.
We could. I don't think we would. Like I think like we can come up.
You don't think you would?
I don't think we would do the Zoom. No, we'd be like, I don't really have anything to talk about today. But if we're like in the office and we're just kind of working on something, oh, this is interesting, and then I run it by.
So you're saying that like, what if you had a mandatory meeting place that you went to? So it wasn't an office, but like every X time we have to go to Starbucks or wherever the place that people hang out. And
that could work out.
The thing is, when you pay for something, you're gonna value and use it more. And if one of the, like an expensive gym membership, where it's like, oh man, if I don't use it, now I'm wasting money. That's how that's a motivator for me.
That's what you need to get him to go to ideate to create the more money. Then I guess that's the only way you can do it. If you can't force yourself to meet at a meeting place or whatever. But like this whole exercise, and I'm not saying that you come to the exercise, is that this is how you should be spending your neurons more so than the food example.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, right? Like I think that's what's going to drive you to the level of comfort that you aspire to live, and the level of pickleball travel that you want to live, more so than saving.
Panhandling for half-eaten sushi.
Panhandling, I panhandled before as an exercise.
How was that?
It was eye opening. It was awakening, and it helped me realize that no matter what, you can make money.
Were people nice to you?
No, it was a little dangerous. It was a dangerous job. A lot of people were nice, and there was some danger associated with it.
What happened?
Oh, there was like gangbangers that were gonna fuck me up. You know, like
Right.
get out of the street or do whatever. You know what I mean? Like just because you're low, because they can, right? Humans are humans, and there were people who were very nice and very sweet.
How much did you make?
Enough to be on pace to make like $60,000 to $70,000 a year tax free.
Whoa.
Right, but I stopped the experiment. It was part of an emotional intelligence class, right? Like facing your fears about things, and I went out and did it, and it was very liberating. And I was just like, yeah, you're just gonna be all right.
And that was meant to teach people that no matter what.
It was my exercise. No, it wasn't like everybody does this exercise.
I see. Okay.
It was like my exercise. Like some people had to go something way high, whatever. Like, but like it was a great exercise. It was like this is a hard job, but it's a lucrative job.
Was there an effective way, like a sign?
I didn't even have a sign. Like I was like, that's why I was like, oh, I know I can really crush it if I had a sign.
So what's like the optimal way to panhandle?
I don't know. I was only out there for like one day, a couple hours.
You
Like,
guys ran on
he's like,
what freeways?
I think a sign would be better. I think looking destitute is fine, but not completely like disheveled or smelly or like scary. And being at a very busy intersection, and that has a light, and that allows people to give you money. So I think it's always going to boil down to a numbers game.
That reminded me. I remember in 2009, I believe it was. I would get off a freeway exit in Studio City on a regular basis, driving from Glendale to Beverly Hills, and there was a guy who was constantly on the side of the freeway, but he wore a suit, like a decent looking suit. He wore glasses, clean cut sort of guy, but he said he lost his job. Like on the side, he says like he lost his job looking for work, anything helps. And the fact that he wore a suit and seemed clean cut, I'm like, this is the guy who gets my money. So like, usually what I do is I pack Nutrigrain bars actually on my drive, knowing that when he's there, I give him a Nutrigrain bar or I give him a water or something like that. But Dude, that just popped into my mind like that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the answer is I don't know. I don't think
Yeah, he
like
could just be
90
like
minutes or 2 hours out there or
Just
whatever
buying
time I was out
hops
there.
in his Ferrari and goes straight to.
You don't know. That one lady pretended to be disabled.
Yeah.
And then you see her just like wheeling off a few blocks.
I mean, if you're gonna be
Hops
disingenuous, yeah,
hops
you
into
do all
a
kinds of things,
Mercedes,
right?
and she was making like $100,000 a year.
You can do well. I mean, but I think that would be an effective allocation of your mental resources. But I could see him like
It's
maybe,
fulfilling.
I could see him like gamifying it and get some fulfillment out of this and justifying it.
I like optimization.
It's like, yeah, go on a hike in the morning, then a panhandle for half an hour. And then
My time's worth 0 anyway.
Yeah, he's got a 0 time calculator going. Anyway, I don't have that many. You know, I can ask a zillion questions, but I don't want to take up all.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, if you want a round 2 at some point, let us know in the comment section. I'll do my best.
I think you guys had enough. You're like, I can't take this. I can't take this sushi. But if you do, we can do it. We can do a round 2.
Yeah, and also for anyone who made it to this point in the episode, because I'm really curious about the retention graphs. If you've made it to this point, if you wouldn't mind giving us a comment, let us know you made it to the end. That would be awesome.
Also, what you liked and what you disliked. That would also be very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to edit up and put bookmarks. People got to skip it.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So, and we're also going to link all of your info in the description along with your book. I highly recommend it, by the way. And if you want to be a part of the group, The Index, that link is also down below.
The Index, huh? What goes on in the Index?
So,
oh, yeah, he's like, why'd you ask?
Why? Why are you
There's a third index slot in the video.
We could cut it if you want to, yeah.
The Index is an amazing group. I attended it was Disneyland, and there was like a tour, and then a very fancy dinner. Like Graham said, he dropped 40,000. The idea of the group is to get a bunch of young, wealthy people together to have experiences, and a lot of the money that is paid by the members of the group gets cycled into these really lavish.
We do really unique experiences that I would never do on my own, but I could justify it in a group like this.
Because you get the discount.
Because I get the discount, but then I reinvest. Like a lot of the money that goes in is just I spend it back on those experiences. But we cultivated a really cool group of like 13 people so far, and our vetting process is like we go through like multiple rounds of phone calls just to make sure everyone's the right culture fit.
Right.
But yeah, like the group that we have so far is incredible. And when I submitted the first application, we got like 3,000 people applying. And out of those 3,000 so far, we picked like 13.
That's right. So you guys are like investing experiences. So at the end of your life, when you retire on those memories.
Yeah. And I like how involved everyone is. Like we've met some really cool people, and one guy like
how do you go get 3,000 applicants?
3,000 applications.
Some of them are easy.
I don't want to give the secrets away for how we sort through, but we have a method for going through them. It's not just me, but I have a partner.
Offline, I gotta find out what this is.
Yeah. Listen, you're invited.
The Index.
And
just tell me when you go someplace fun. Just tell me where you're going. Like, all right. Disneyland.
Andy's a huge fan of you. So if you want to say hi to Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy. Thank you guys for watching.
Until next time.
Your liver is gonna, it's gonna with your metabolism. Like you're young, yeah, you can, but eventually it catches up.
Do you have any questions for us or any comments?
Yeah, like why did you start this podcast?
Well, this was really the brainchild of Jack. Back in 2020, my theory is that he saw that Joe Rogan sold his podcast exclusivity to Spotify, and he came to me, he's like, dude, we gotta start a podcast. And this was May of 2020, and I said, sure, let's give it a shot. Is that what happened, Jack?
No, that is not what happened.
All right.
See? But it was funny because it was like nearly exactly after he sold his podcast is when we first uploaded our video, and like we were, Graham with a finance channel, and so the top comment was like, Graham Stephan sees Joe Rogan sells podcast for 100 million, starts a podcast. But in this case, no, it's because I've watched a lot of podcasts, or I listened to a lot of podcasts. Throughout the day, I'd go on a walk and just binge that type of stuff, and I think.
Wow, they were redoing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go later this year.
Yeah, Team Lots Borderless is just absurd. It's absurd.
Where's your favorite place to travel?
Wow. It depends on what type of vacation you have. Like Japan is my favorite. I did the countryside. I did Kyoto, Fukuoka, Tokyo. Visited with the geishas in Kyoto. Yeah. It was amazing. But that's a different type of trip. The reason why I love Japan so much is it's like a modern culture, first world culture that is completely different than any place else. Right? I think you would have had that experience before they became a monoculture in the world. Like when you go to Europe, you go in some place, you're gonna hear hip hop, right? Like it's very. They're losing the distinct, the French being the French. I mean, there's French things, right? French culture, Germans being Germans. I think in the 40s and 50s it was very distinct and very unique and not Americanized so much. But Japan is wildly different, right? And modern, so it's kind of odd, right? The way they think, the whole existence of it, and it's really amazing to discover. But the Med is amazing. Like Italy, the Amalfi Coast, that whole area is an amazing playground. Amazing to go to Discovery, go to Pompeii, learn all kinds of different terrain. Greece, that whole area, then into the other side. Croatia is amazing. I mean, that whole European area. Then also I love Denmark and Amsterdam in the summer. Only in the summer. Europe's great. There's a lot of travel around there.
Is there anywhere you wouldn't go?
I think I would go places where the death rate or was extremely high. Like I would even go to places where it's like this is gonna be a struggle. Like I'm not gonna like it at first, like resist it, but just to do it. You know what I mean? And feel it. The last time I went on safari, there were so many bugs in my room. It was crazy, and I'm not a bug guy. And then by the third day, I was like, okay, I'm used to these bugs. Like it was in a nice place, but our roof, the thatch roof, got infested with termites and the bugs could get in. And it was just like the net and the bugs and cups and shit, bugs everywhere. But the safari is amazing. I highly recommend safari. Before you die, do safari.
And your least favorite place to travel? Like if you were to name or call out a destination and say this was not worth it, or I didn't like it and I would not go back again.
I think anything that's designed for tourists. Like I didn't like going on a cruise. I mean, I see the value play in it, etc. But it wasn't me. I can do that when I'm 80. You know what I mean? Or 75, right? Like it's like basically taking like a little bit of America, sticking it on a boat, and doing this thing on a boat with a bunch of people.
Sure.
Consuming,
Doesn't have to be on a boat.
Consuming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're on their schedule, so you have to get on and off the boat on their schedule. And at first you're like, this is great, like look at all this food, and then like 10 pounds later when you get off the boat, you're like, what did I just do to myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very canned. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now I could see myself like later in life really enjoying one piece and the produce and the food's over there. It's always there. There's always food out and snacks out and everything being your spot. And America is just cramped on this thing and you're just enjoying the view. But at this age, I hated it. I hated it. Now maybe it was the type of cruise I was on, but I wouldn't do it. So anything like that.
What do you think of what the fire community has become?
I mean, I think fire is a great skill set, especially like there's no fire in Japan. Like this is them. They say they give to their community. They don't, you know what I mean? Like they have a simple life. They understand the concept of enough, etc. And I think when Your Money or Your Life, when that came out, which launched the fire community, that's kind of like their Bible, right? You know, I think they went into the extreme. It's become this like, how can I refreeze popcorn to get the popcorn out, right? And it's a lot of people. It's become savings porn, right? Which, you know, Your Money or Your Life was about getting in touch with your values and having a fulfilling life. That's what the book is about, right? And it suggests ways at which you can do that, like even taking less salary by not commuting as much and looking at your hourly wage, right? And I think the fire community has kind of lost that, right? They've gone on to this like a version of, not completely, but a version of is like, I'm going to do 15 years in Sing Sing, and then when I get out, I'm going to live the life, you know, and I won't have to work anymore, etc. And I'm like, listen, while you're in jail, life is passing you by. You know, you're not meant to be in any kind of jail, whether it's your own jail of your mind that you're creating by not enjoying life now, or actually going to Sing Sing for some like prize, some Mr. Beast prize. I got $50 million, so somebody would do 15 years in jail, you know, that type of thing. And so that's my criticism of the fire movement. On the flip side, though, here in America, there is an epidemic of careless and wasteful spending and people living above their means and not thinking consciously about earning and saving. And so that's a good part about the fire movement. But I think it teaches people to be like, not live their life.
So what if a person says, hey, I went 30 grand into debt so I could go and travel the world, but now my credit cards are all maxed out, I'm making 20 bucks an hour, it's going to take me a decade to pay this thing off, but I had an epic time.
Might be worth it. I don't know. It's really about like, I would go into debt if that was the experience that I could have. And it depends. Like the fire people are doing it in reverse. Right? They're like, I'm going to grind out for 20 years and then I'm going to have this great trip. And this guy's like, I went into debt and I'm going to have to grind this way, right? Isn't it the same thing, right? Like,
I guess so.
It's a version of autopilot, right? Like they didn't think it through. It's like maybe there was a better way to do this or maybe that was a proper way to do it. You know? Right? They're just doing it in reverse. Right? They're just grinding it out. And then when I'm 45, I'm going to have this great, wonderful life, right? Like this guy's like, no, I'll go into debt and I'll grind it out later, right? Struggling flipping burgers or whatever, right? But I think there's an in-between conscious way to think about this. It's like, where experiences belong, where? What are my resources? What are my future resources going to be like? And how do I allocate my resources through this period? Right? That's the real way to do it. Right? Not like give up 10 years of your life so that you die with 10 years of your life to go to taxes and whoever randomly is going to get it. You know? So I think, you know, fire is great and America needs more fire than it needs the latter, but we need to be a little bit more conscious and intentional about these things. And I think fire is great that it helps people get in touch with their values, right? When you start shedding the marketing and right? I think they get more in touch with their values of what matters to them. They lose their ego, which is a great thing, etc. But they kind of get into this robotic thing, right? That's kind of like addiction. I'm saying, look how much money I have. 3%. Look, I did this. But you know, on the flip side, as much as I want that, right? These guys are finding out all the hacks, right? Like I often say that, you know, I could be on a super yacht in the Amalfi Coast or whatever, and somebody somewhere is on a boat on a ferry having the same experience, soaking it all in and enjoying it, right? They're getting the same fulfillment and they're with their buddies and they're having a great time, right? So I think at all income levels, you can have that adventurous and fulfilling life, right? And you can top grade it and glaze it over if you want as you make more money, right? And so I think what the fire guys do is they figure out like, you bought a house for this, well, I found this deal. You got a mortgage for that, and I found this deal. And like, you're buying shirts from here, I have shirts online for this, right? And so like,
varies.
So what they're doing is they're reducing the amount of life you have to give up for this level of fulfillment, and that's a subcategory of like the wealth, right? And so
it's funny. That's me to a T. Yeah, it's like trying to figure out what is the best value for every single thing I could spend.
I could use you. Like, you know, this $1 million is going to go a lot further in fulfillment, right? Like they are in the. I'm at the top level, right? Like I'm like your wealth, health, and time. And these guys are at us optimizing one of the columns, right? They're optimizing the wealth bucket, so that for every dollar you spend, you get that much more fulfillment.
Yeah.
So what I would tell these guys, like, let's not do without, but let's just find the most efficient way to do it. Like, let's still get all these things, right? Let's still go to the club, but let's find the cheaper, more fun club with the better specials, right? You know what I mean? The bottles here are 6,000, bottles here are 2,000.
I did a whole video on this like 7 years ago. I went through all of my expenses and talked about ways to optimize them. And one of mine was like, I had a buddy who got a Thanksgiving bonus of like $200. This is when I was 21 years old. Spent it all at the bar, the entire thing that night. I was like, it's ridiculous because you could have the same experience had he just gotten a bottle from the grocery store for $20, the whole thing, split it with his friends.
Oh, this is something I learned from Dan.
Yeah, just do that. So and then you go to the bar and like that's what I would do. I would never spend money at the bar. I would always just get a bottle from the grocery store. And
sometimes you can have the parking lot.
Bring it in the parking lot, but then go into the bar and then I just order waters the entire night.
Well, this is one thing you said. What I learned from Dan. And Dan would be like, look, why would you spend all this money in a club? We can spend like that much money, control the environment, have a party at our place, rent a place, have a party. You control the environment, you control the guest list, you're the man, so you have all the girls there, etc. Right? You're the one throwing the party, etc. As opposed to like one dude out of many, right? And like those are the things you would do. Is like, why would you spend thousands and thousands of dollars keep going to a club with? Take that, throw one party, and you are the man.
The other thing that reminded me of going out to restaurants. Throughout my early 20s, I would never want to spend money at restaurants, but I still wanted the experience of going out with friends to restaurants. So what I would do is I would eat at home beforehand, but then go to the restaurant and order the least expensive thing on the entire menu, which is usually like a $10 salad. Right. And then what I would do is I'd bring cash. Because what would happen is that everyone would be like, oh my god, how do we split the bill? We have to throw in a credit card. I don't want to throw in a credit card when their bills are like $100. Mine should be 10. So I'll bring like $20 cash, and I throw in my 20. I'm like, all right, I'm set. I don't have to worry about splitting this check. But I did the same
both the restaurant and his friends, but yeah, I get it.
there was one time even, this is going to sound awful, there's one time I went to the restaurant and I asked them if I could bring in a Subway. And I brought in a Subway, because there's a Subway, like, a few little...
They let you bring in a Subway?
They let me bring in a Subway.
Jesus.
Because, no, listen, I was in a group of like 12 people. So I just asked for a plate, they brought me a plate. It was super nice. I mean, I left a tip, but I brought in a Subway, and my meal was $6, whereas everyone else was like $40. It's the same experience.
I don't know if it's the same experience. You're not eating the same food.
Like a community
Subway.
pasta.
The chicken and bacon ranch is delicious.
And the thing is, he also plays the waiting game, and he's like a scavenger where if they don't finish food, he'll also get a little taste at the end.
I have a thing for food waste. I hate wasting food. And so sometimes I'll see someone order like a big steak or something like this, they eat half, and then they send it back to be thrown away. And I'm like, that's $50 worth of food that they're throwing away in the trash that I would be happy to eat.
For granted, it's always about increasing value. So like, as long as he's better off, you just better. Steak right here. You took a bite out of this carrot. Okay, like, you know, if I avoid your teeth marks.
So I see that as me getting paid for doing nothing. So let's just say in that situation, we're all allowed to eat at a dinner. We're all paying for our own meals, and you have half a steak that you're going to throw away, and your half of steak is worth $40. Me having your half a steak that would be thrown away is the equivalent to me making $40. That's how I see it.
I mean, you're not wrong, but you know, there is some entrepreneur out there who built this restaurant, whose hopes and dreams that he doesn't want them to be inefficient. He wants them to eat the whole thing, but they didn't. That you're crushing because you're taking up the chair. That could be another patron who's a paying patron, and you're robbing him of his services indirectly. So I mean, what you're saying is correct. You are getting paid. This is full optimizing your gaming, but you're go with the entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
But the food's going to be thrown away. So
your
work is wasted. Isn't their work
Let's
better
put it
off
down in the bottom of this video. Please don't waste food. Order appropriately. You know, don't waste food. Order appropriately. We can put that at the bottom, and then you can go in and you can order your own food and support the business.
Yeah, but to Jack's point though, there are some people that I would consistently go out with, and they would always have like half of their food thrown away. So I got in the habit of there's no sense in me ordering.
You sound like my mom was like, "Where this remembers depression?"
Yeah, but I personally wouldn't order because I knew if there's 4 people that I'm eating with, that's 2 full meals because they throw it away.
This is going to be on 24 floor, isn't it? This is not going to make the episode.
Licking his chops beside them. They're like, oh, you know what? Actually, you can.
It started to be a running joke, but they would come over and throw away the food, like, and I say, oh wait, actually, could we get all this to go? And I would eat for like days.
Stand outside and panhandle for scraps. Why pretend? Just stand outside and panhandle for scraps. People definitely be like, just stand outside and say whatever you don't eat because you pack it up and go, and they will do that.
I honestly wish there were a service. They would just go around restaurants and be like, whatever you're about to throw away, just put in this side of the restaurant.
They have that. They do have that for the homeless. Like they do give that out. There are those services. They're generally for the homeless, not you. But you know, you could start a new trend.
I heard that they're not allowed to give that food to homeless because if they get sick from it. No, it's
not the half-eaten ones. No, but the ones that are not sold.
So Brian will take the stuff that the homeless people reject.
Well, they won't allow. They won't allow.
Legally, the homeless people can't even ingest.
Yeah, but like if you stand outside the restaurant and be like, hey, whatever you don't eat, you put it in the. I'm sure everybody will.
If it were not for people like Jack and my wife just getting really embarrassed by that, and for like social norms, like I would be doing a lot of this stuff.
I feel you. Like the hive mind is like, no, this isn't right, and you're like, oh, this is right.
I hold back out of fear of embarrassing the people around
me. And I appreciate that. Sometimes like even last night, like which is fine, but like we're checking into our hotel, and like the guy was like, oh, do you live here in Texas? And Graham's like, no, why? And he's like,
you said no.
I said no. Why? You know, I'm not gonna lie. And then he said, oh, because there's a locals discount. And Graham's like, oh, well, in that case, we live here in Texas. And then the guy was
like,
in
a very joking way.
The guy was like, oh, and Graham's like, no, seriously, like, you know, do you guys have a discount or anything? He's like, yeah, it's a little bit of a discount. And Graham's like, well, like the guy's kind of trying to like swat him away like a fly. Like,
he was laughing.
He was laughing. Like, granted, I'm making it sound worse than it is. He was kind of laughing and playing along a little bit, but still, like, if I get one rejection for like Graham, like probably asked. Finally, I was like third or fourth time of like, what would we have to do, you know, to try to get a little.
Well, with this restaurant thing, he's going to save more money than he ever made. He's going to be getting free food. He's like, well, I view that as $40. I'm like, he keeps doing things like this.
And they ended up giving us, you know, some sort of a discount.
Yeah, they did.
It is nice.
But he was successful. But he was laughing. No, it wasn't that. Jack said no, we didn't. And I'm like, do we get a discount if we do? And the guy said yeah. And I'm like, well, in that case, yeah, I guess we live in Texas. And he laughed at it. And then I jokingly said something like, you know, are you able to apply something if we're like visiting friends in Texas? He's like, you know what? Yeah, I could do that. Like something like that.
To me, it's just like I don't know. Maybe it's an ego thing too. But I'm like, I just don't like defying social.
Well, I think it's negotiate. Like hotels and mattresses, you can always negotiate them. Always. So he's found something, right? Like that one's, and your ego's like, I don't want to look like an idiot. You should lose that part. But like the food one,
yeah.
I mean, we're going further and further along the spectrum.
See, almost anywhere I go, if I'm alone, I ask for the employee discounts. But I want to say like discount tire. Oh my gosh, I saved like $300 recently. just because I was joking with the guy, and I'm like, you know,
I need this guy in my life.
There's
Like,
like,
he's
an
gonna,
important
he's gonna,
but I want
you are a subroutine that needs to be running, and everybody needs that subroutine to a certain degree.
But yeah, but I'm never a Karen about it. But
No,
it's always
he's
like a really joking, friendly sort of like, hey man, can we hook this up? Or like, but usually they're all like, all right, yeah, okay. And then they type in like a few things, and then
they're never like, of course, man, I'd love to give you the same thing I'm giving everyone else, but for a little bit cheaper. Like they're never like enthusiastic to do it. But
Enterprise Jack, that you benefited from that.
So this got me to
On
a
an
question,
enterprise
like a question for both of you that I think is like, it seems like you spend a lot of time and a lot of mental energy on the saving side. How much mental energy do you spend on the revenue side? See,
as much.
Because I went the opposite way. When I read Your Money or Your Life, it was like all these frugal exercises and saving money. I went that way. But what it really wanted me to do was like, oh, there's another way to solve for this problem. Having so much money that you don't give a such that it's not worth my time to even ask for the discount. Like the 2 minutes speaking for the discount, wow, I've lost so much money.
Yes and no. I see my time as having different values throughout different times of the day. Like right now, my time is really, really, really valuable. But at 10 p.m. at night, my time is worthless for the most part. So if my time is worthless, I may as well utilize that time effectively. Same thing with on an airplane. My time is worth 0. So I try to do an activity where at least it's not worth 0. So if I'm out at AutoZone getting my tires replaced, it's going to be, I'm there regardless. So like spending that extra 2 minutes is going to be the same thing. So I may as well optimize it.
I can see some of the variable value in a person's time. I don't do that as much, but to that extent. But I do realize like my free time is way, way, way more valuable than my work time because that's a reward. You don't want to cut the reward. So it's like time with my daughters. If something comes up and just like everything's out, right? Unless I absolutely have to hire obligation or made a commitment. But if it's like, oh, these things that are going to go away and I'm going to get to spend less time with, if they like, oh yes, I will spend time with you, everything stops. So there is some variable in the value of time, but not that much.
It might be different with kids. Would you say that's the case?
Oh yeah, it's always. I mean,
okay.
It's just.